The sixth session of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting will please come to order. Welcome, everyone. I want to welcome our guests in the balcony. I want to welcome town meeting members, boards and committees. And I want to remind everyone, even when we do go into recess, and we're not in recess yet, but when we go into recess for the summit, the same rules of decorum apply. So no expressions of approval or disapproval, listening politely to whoever has the floor. So again, I know everyone knows and understands why that's so important. So those are the rules of the road. I want to let our town meeting members, folks, can we keep the voices down? I want to remind town meeting members who are participating remotely that you will be able to observe the summit in your town meeting Zoom session. So you do not need to change out of that. The one that you're currently connected on, if you are hearing and seeing me, you will be able to hear and see the summit. If we could just get a little more quiet. Okay. I am now going to call a recess for purposes of conducting the financial summit. When the summit is over, the town meeting will come back into session and we have important work to do. So don't go anywhere. We are in recess.
Good evening, everybody. I have to find the right meeting. Hold on. This is, here we go. It is now 7:30 p.m. and I'm calling the Lexington Select Board to order, April 27th, 2026. This evening's meeting is being held in a remote manner. Utilizing the application Zoom, members of the public may view the meeting from their devices by clicking on the link posted with the agenda. Please note that the meeting is being recorded. We are also being broadcast live and for future on-demand viewing by LexMedia. All materials provided to the boards are also available to the public. Members of the Select Board this evening are all in person. I am Jill Hay, the chair. To my left is our Select Board Vice Chair, Joe Pato. To his left is Select Board Member Doug Lucente. To his left is Vanita Kumar, and to her left is Mark Sandine. I am now going to ask Ms. Jay to call the school committee to order.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. It is 7:33 on April 27, 2026, and I call the meeting of the school committee to order for this summit. My name is Eileen Jay. I'm chair of the school committee. With me to my right is Larry Freeman, vice chair. To his right, Kathleen Lenahan, then Sarah Carter, and Mona Roy.
Thank you very much. Mr. Pataky for the AC.
Good evening, Ms. Hay. On behalf of the Appropriation Committee, I call this meeting to order. We are represented here in person by Anil Ahuja at the far right, Vinita Verma, myself as the vice chair, John Bartenstein, Alan Levine, and Eric Michelson. We have two members participating remotely. I don't know if they're on or not, Sean Osborne and Lily Yam. Sean Osborne is on.
Mr. Osborne is here, and do we have Ms. Yan? Not yet. We will let you know if we see her arrive.
Can we do a sound check for Mr. Osborne?
Mr. Osborne, can we hear you? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Terrific. Thank you.
And our chair, Glenn Parker, is away. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb for the Capital Expenditures Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm Charles Lamb, Chair of the Capital Expenditures Committee. I call this meeting of the Capital Expenditures Committee to order. On my right is Vice Chair Lisa Rhodes. To her right, Mark Rubenstein. To his right, Mike Boudet. To his right, Rod Cole. And we may have Sandy Beebe online. Joe?
Do we have Ms. Beebe?
Sandy, if you're on, give us a sound check, please. All right, she's not here. Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, I want to explain this configuration is a little awkward. It is not our normal summit configuration, but we are attempting to be as efficient as possible so that when we are completed with the summit, we can return to town meeting as quickly as possible. So please bear with us. Tonight's agenda has just the one item, which is to discuss the proposed amendment and compromise proposal to Article 4. This is not a policy summit, although that is clearly on deck. We have said so at prior summits. It is embedded specifically in the Select Board goals, which were adopted in December. During those policy summits, we will discuss, there may be policy changes that come out. No policy will be sacred for its own sake, and everything needs to serve the purpose of making our town the place we all want to live, we all want to be proud of. So that is all what is coming as we go forward once we finally complete town meeting and can move on to the next stage of starting the next budget cycle. As you all know, we typically start in the fall with budget summits. This is specifically designed that we will start in the spring. We will begin by discussing policies. Everything can be on the table for discussion. And so that by the fall, when we actually start looking at revenues and allocations, we will have made some of the decisions clear. Tonight's summit is an opportunity for us to reconvene, since it seemed appropriate as this way to discuss the topic in this forum, because this is how we have always discussed our budget, equally amongst ourselves. Not across email, not across listservs, not across staff memos. All of those have posed good questions and have provided us with good information, but we are the elected and appointed bearers of our financial decisions, whether they are policy, fiscal, or otherwise. So we are charged with recommending sound financial decisions, and it is ultimately us, it is not our staff, it is not our employees, who answer to the community and to the taxpayers. And so that is the goal that we are here to complete. I am going to give every board in turn an opportunity to share their own thoughts and questions, as we have already all received all of this information that has been going around for the last month. Our goal is to return to town meeting with any luck before 8:30 with a recommendation regarding the various amendments, and ideally with one which we can all endorse. So I am going to go ahead, and the school committee, I believe, is going to speak first. So Ms. Jay.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. So we are ostensibly gathered here to discuss the amendment that's on the table of town meeting floor. I think in addition to that, I want to go off of what Ms. Hay said. To me, not only are we discussing as a summit body this amendment, I believe that in the broader scheme of things, it's the long game, so to speak. I think we all recognize that we are going to face some very challenging times. We have many policy decisions to make, many things that will need to be put on the table. And I think it is very, very important for us to be able to come together and be collaborative and work together and find mutual agreement wherever possible. So with that spirit in mind, I don't know if everyone knows this, but after our last our last town meeting, at a school committee meeting, I was concerned precisely about how we could come together. I think we were seeing a lot of cross purposes, and I thought that particularly around the McKenna Amendment. And so I actually had floated the first proposal for a compromise at a school committee meeting. That one didn't fly, but with that spirit still in mind, I worked with my colleague, Mr. Freeman. The two of us worked alone. We didn't bring this up to the school committee until 6 o'clock today at our full meeting. And the intention really is to find something that is a true compromise. So what we came up with is in the summit packet. I hope people have seen it already. But essentially what it is proposing is to alter the dollar amount of the amendment to a total of $625,000. $250,000 of that would go toward the difference between purchasing a 1-year versus a 5-year plan of our new literacy curriculum. That extra $250,000 would allow us to save money and have an assurance that we have a long-term plan for that curriculum purchase. The other $375,000 would go toward 5 staff positions that are specialized coaches in our literacy coaches and some math coaches. So it will no longer include some of the other things that were in the full plan for the full amount. And we will talk some about the justification for why those positions are the most critical. We are making a commitment and a guarantee that they will be 1-year only positions. They're particularly chosen to be transitional. We are implementing our new literacy curriculum K-5 starting this coming year, and that's a very important transition to be able to train our teachers on using that curriculum. And the math as well as for special education support in general ed classrooms so that they can be learning the content in a more inclusive setting. I am going to pass it along to my colleagues to make their comments about this proposal. We did have a discussion on it. I think there's one other thing that I would like to say at this point, which is we know that there is a lot of concern in the community about how finances are managed, and I think that building community confidence is going to be one of our priorities. I think it should be the priority of the summit across municipal and schools. And I can also say the school committee is going to make a commitment of its own to build mechanisms to have public information about school finances more accessible and more readable for people to understand. I think it's become clear on many of the comments we've seen online, and also even staff members. For example, the memo that came out on Friday from the town manager, I think it makes it clear that the school budget is so complicated that there are questions asked that demonstrate that people don't understand how all these things are put together and how complex they are. So we are going to be working with our finance team on building that. We're also looking at some policies around guidelines on expenses. We'll and also be looking at communication with the community. We actually have a plan. We're engaging our field representative from the Massachusetts Association of School Committees to come talk with us in a workshop setting to inform us of best practices in other communities about things like that. So with that, I am going to kind of go down the line and have each of our members comment, and then I will be last to go.
Thank you. Larry Freeman, Vice Chair, School Committee. The main driver behind this compromise, in my opinion, is really understanding the relationship between school committee, the select board, and the finance committees. That marriage between these 4 entities is essential to the success of Lexington. So we did take a hard look at the McKenna amendment, and we really dug into that and said, okay, we see that the finance committees are not in support of this, the select board is not in support of this. What can we do to try to get more people on board with us to understand that we have a need? The need is coming from students, it's coming from our educators. As we roll out a new curriculum, particularly literacy, which if you've lived in Lexington at any time, you know literacy has been a huge conversation in our community. So now that we have this new curriculum, getting experts to help take advantage of full functionality of the curriculum is going to be essential. And that's what these literacy specialists would do. They would look at the program, come up with best practices, support our educators in this transition, and ultimately, it's going to be our students who are going to benefit. So to me, the relationships and supporting students, it was the #1 driver here in this compromise. I hope you all will understand and support that.
Hi, Kathleen Lenahan. I just wanted to widen our lens a little bit because sometimes when you're only thinking about Lexington, it can get lost that we are not alone in facing these kind of economic difficulties. When you read the Boston Globe, every day basically brings a new story about a town or a city in the Commonwealth in financial difficulties. This list, it's just some of the communities in the past 2 years that have had to have an operating override. Winchester, Malden, Arlington, Stoneham, Amesbury, Groton, Milton, Natick, Duxbury, Medford, Braintree, North Reading, Belmont, and if you go back one more year, Newton. And in the next month, we will add to that list Brookline, Grafton, Medfield, Marblehead, and potentially Marshfield. And in one of the stories about this, there was a quote I thought that was relevant. The Massachusetts Municipal Association issued a report earlier this year highlighting what it sees as a perfect storm for the finances of the Bay State cities and towns. When asked why it seems so many communities are broke, again, that's Boston News word, the association's executive director, Adam Chapeldane, said, "We have the cost of electricity, gas, and utilities, things that we can all relate to at home rising, and then just the general cost of inflation." He added that the state, through the unrestricted government aid formula, has not kept up with inflation. When it comes to Prop 2.5, he believes parts of it still service a purpose. But that being said, the number itself, 2.5%, I don't believe that is any longer reflective of the realities of the cost environment. And the point of sharing all of this is to just highlight that those macroeconomic headwinds Lexington is facing are impacting towns and cities all across the Commonwealth. The school committee and LPS are doing what we can to delay for as long as possible Lexington's name being added to this incredibly long list of communities. And this compromise is part of that work, and it will allow us to meet some very specific needs of our students. And I hope that the way we successfully navigate these turbulent times is by working together in partnership, because I know we're all doing our best to do what we think is right for Lexington.
So I have actually been a lifelong Lexington resident. I grew up here, and I just want to say that I care about this community. Yes, I'm on the school committee, but it's more than just that. It is also the town of Lexington. And that what we all want is a community that is strong. But if we all take a moment and say what's really at the core of that, for many people, the school's reputations and the strengths of the schools are really a key component of that. And I am very worried that if we are not thoughtful and careful in this transition, that we will have a potential to do damage to our schools and our students. And we need to work together to find a way to transition in this together. As school committee members, we take our job as stewards of the schools, the students, and our fiscal decisions seriously, and we are not looking to abdicate any of those responsibilities. This is set up through the legal system, and we are not wanting to give away any of the responsibilities or powers that are given to us as school committee members.
I'm sure my colleagues have have said it better than I could, but I'll try. I want to first begin with some context of where I sit at this table. I was elected to the school committee in March, and that was after the budget summit had concluded. I wasn't part of those negotiations, but I did attend every single budget summit as a community member. And in preparation for tonight, I went back and rewatched what I could. So I come to this conversation with deep respect for the work that was done and genuine humility about what I'm still learning. But I'm here now, and my first responsibility as a school committee member is to students. I want to begin by thanking the town manager for recognizing that the pre-purchase of the Arts and Letters literacy curriculum is a fiscally prudent decision. That acknowledgement matters. Teaching children to read is not just the purview of the school committee. It is a fundamental responsibility of this entire community, and I'm grateful to see that the shared commitment is reflected tonight. Having said that, I would urge reconsideration of the funding for the extra literacy and math specialists. I want to be precise about what these rules actually do. These are specialists who work directly with struggling students in general education classrooms. They identify children who are falling behind, they intervene early, they provide targeted support before needs escalate. But there's a reason for this particular year that it matters even more. Our teachers are being asked to implement a brand new literacy curriculum, Arts and Letters, at the same time that staffing is being reduced. This is a significant shift on how reading is taught, and even excellent teachers need time and support to internalize a new framework and apply it with fidelity. When a teacher's still learning a curriculum, the students who are most vulnerable are the first to fall through the cracks. Having extra specialists in the room this year working directly with those students while the teacher is building confidence with the new material, that's not a luxury. It's how we protect children who cannot afford to wait. And this year, we still have literacy and math specialists in our general education classroom, just fewer of them. This one-year investment ensures that the transition does not come at the expense of our most vulnerable learners. You know what the saying is, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. But in education, it's not just a saying, it's a documented fiscal reality. Delayed identification and intervention does not save money. It defers costs and multiplies it. Depending on what a child ultimately needs, the cost of late intervention can be 2 to 10 times higher than early support. Every child identified and supported early in a general education setting is less likely to require the more intensive and more expensive services that follow when we wait. One out-of-district placement avoided can exceed the annual cost of multiple specialist positions. But I want to speak to something beyond the numbers, because I think the numbers alone don't capture what's really at stake. When we talk about the savings of delaying identification, we have to ask honestly, on whose backs do those savings fall? The answer is children. When a child who is struggling is not identified and supporting early, it's not just a budget line for them and a child, it's the child's understanding of what they see themselves as a learner. It's the difference between a child who believes that school is for them and a child who comes to believe not. Those wounds run deep and they don't heal easily. I know this firsthand. My son is 22 years old and dyslexic. He was not properly identified until close to 3rd grade. And what followed were years of intensive intervention at enormous personal and financial cost. I share this not to make tonight about my family, but to stand in solidarity with the many parents and families in this community who have the same lived experience. It is why so many of us fought for this paradigm shift in how we teach reading. We do not want this to happen to the next generation. That's what's at stake tonight. I also want to see this clearly. I recognize this is a budget of shared sacrifice. The reductions made this year affect real people, educators and staff who are valued members of this community, and I do not dismiss that. We are all Lexington. We share this town, and we want a community that is strong on both the municipal and school sides. I ask you to consider funding these one-year positions, not as a permanent commitment, not as a rejection of fiscal discipline, but as a recognition that our most vulnerable learners deserve this year of support through a moment that will shape their academic trajectories for years to come.
Thank you. So, Ms. J, if I may.
Yes.
Okay. In your comments, can you just give us the summary of where the position is of the school committee and what everybody else is being asked to opine on?
Yes, okay. Let me just say, because I forgot to mention one piece of the proposal that I think we will be wanting to be discussing. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Obviously, school committee, we are advocates for children, and we will continue to be so. But we also are trying to be good partners with the finance aspect of this. What I forgot to mention is that written into that compromise proposal was another element that I think we just took a stab at trying to find some way to come together to talk about the financial issues and to dig deeper into it. We are not married to that structure. I do think there will be some things that we can discuss, and we'd like to hear what some of the other boards and committees are thinking. There are certain things I think we would want to be assured of in order to come to consensus around it too, but I think that's a discussion we should open up to everyone. In our earlier meeting, the school committee voted to support the compromise proposal on the condition that all parties of the summit are in agreement. And if that is not the case, then I think we would just all have to revert back to the original amendment. But we are very much, we really are hoping and desiring that there is common ground and that we can go into town meeting with a shared agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Jay. So just two quick clarifying questions. One is, when you say that all members of the summit are in agreement, do you mean each board by a majority vote, or do you literally mean every individual?
I think each board by a majority vote.
Thank you. Second question is, I believe at the beginning you mentioned modifying the amount of the amendment request. And I think that the actual character population of the committee that is mentioned in the initial draft of the proposal is probably outside of town meeting's exact purview. So would the amendment that would be going forward be the $250,000 for educational materials, $375,000 for the one-year coaches, for a total of $625,000 of free cash to be allocated toward the school committee, toward the school budget for this year? Is that the ask?
That is correct. That in fact, the only aspect of it that town meeting will be voting for is the change in the dollar amount.
Okay. To $625,000. $625,000. And as I also recall, I hear you say that there is a commitment that is $250,000 of which to be used for the curricular materials relative to the new literacy curriculum, $375,000 to be used for one-year positions for 5 coaches relative to curriculum, and curriculum transition.
The determination of which roles are chosen, we would consult the superintendent on that. I think it's likely to be either 4 literacy and 1 math, or 2 literacy and 2 math. No, I'm sorry, 3 literacy and 2 math. So a split of the 5.
Okay.
Oh, and the other thing we can say is that we would be able to track the positions and guarantee at the end of FY27 that those positions would no longer be carried forward.
Okay. So, colleagues, that is what we are going to discuss now. I think and I think in the alternative, if for some reason, just so that we don't need to recess again this evening at any point, I'm going to ask each of you as succinctly as possible, so potentially not with every individual member of your committee, but to the extent that you have specific comments, please share them, and if you have collective comments for your committee, please do that. But I am at the end going to ask for a comment, a position of the committee on the proposal Ms. Jay has just outlined, as well as a proposal on the underlying McKenna amendment, if that is what comes, if that ends up coming before the meeting. Mr. Michelson, you had a question.
Yes. Yeah, Ms. Jay, I want to clarify one thing before we proceed. You're talking about $250,000 for the one-year purchase of the curriculum versus 5 years. Now, when we built the budget, both on page 1 of the Brown Book and on page 2 of Superintendent's memo, is a notation that there's currently $750,000 of free cash for purchase of the curriculum. Are we talking about the same item here?
Yes, it's the same curriculum. So at the time the budgets were built, it was put in for purchase of the initial year, which is the most expensive year. The publisher then charges carrying costs, annual carrying costs for materials, because it's a very paper material heavy curriculum. And if you pay year by year, it costs more than if you pay for 5 years of the curriculum. A 5-year plan comes out to be less money, so there is some savings in that. But the $700,000 is already built into the budget for the first year purchase. This would allow us to do the 5-year plan.
Oh, it's switching from 1 year at $700,000
1 year
to
at $700,000
5 years
because that initial year comes with not only the curriculum materials at the outset, but also some training on the part of the publisher, so that it's a higher cost initially. So that $700 will be spent no matter what. The $250 additional will allow us to go the extra years to build out to 5-year commitment with the publisher.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Pataki.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. The Appropriation Committee has reviewed the information provided in the agenda packet for tonight's meeting. As indicated during the town meeting debate on the amendment to Article 4, we remain unanimously opposed to using free cash for ongoing operating expenses. Free cash should be reserved for one-time expenses. I will make several points on behalf of the committee, and individual members will share their own opinions during the discussion. Point number 1. Dr. Hackett has indicated that the proposed $1.25 million would be used to support 13 FTEs for 1 year to manage the transition and to provide retirement incentives for senior staff. These 13 FTEs were not discussed during the development of the FY27 budget, yet they are now considered critical. We are concerned that despite the superintendent's commitment, these or similar positions may need to be retained next year, leading to a continued structural imbalance in the budget. Point 2, we strongly oppose a retirement incentive program for multiple reasons. It is highly undesirable, especially when downsizing, to replace highly experienced and expert staff with inexperienced and less trained staff. It sends the wrong signal to our teachers, leads to faster cost growth in later years as the new staff move up the years of service ladders, and shifts costs from salaries in the school budget to health insurance in the shared expenses budget. Point 3, 2 members of the school committee have offered a compromise option to appropriate $625,000 to support a 5-year literacy curriculum license and reinstate 5 specialized positions. We agree with using $250,000 from free cash for the license. However, we again caution against using the remaining $375,000 for operating expenses, even if intended for 1 year only, for the same reasons we mentioned above. Point 4, regarding the impact on bond ratings, we agree with the town manager that a $1.25 million appropriation from free cash would likely not impact the town's rating by itself. However, ratings are complex, and we must avoid policies that negatively impact our standing, just as we begin large capital borrowing for the high school. Finally, even as we support many of the changes in the FY27 school budget that move it towards structural soundness, we remain concerned about the potential underfunding of aspects of that budget and the outcome of the upcoming negotiations with bargaining units. We also hope that additional changes that promote a structurally sound budget will be made in the following fiscal years, including funding all aspects of the budget to appropriate levels of risk and following up on the recommendations in the recently completed SPED review. In summary, we caution against appropriating the full $1.25 million, but are willing to support adding $250,000 from free cash for the curriculum license, and we urge the budget reforms continue into FY28 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pataki. Are there,
I'm going to probably just have the committee members go
okay,
down the line.
I am going to ask if we can keep that part brief, because there are a lot of us, and we really are trying to get through all of this before before we put the Cinderella bell on town meeting. So for members who have additional points that are different from what Mr. Pataki has already represented, please go ahead. But if you are, as our moderator says, if you're simply saying what's been said, just not by everybody, please pass the mic.
I just have a question, I guess of Ms. J. Has Ms. McKenna agreed to your proposed compromise? Has Ms. McKenna agreed to your proposed compromise resolution, or do we need to think about what happens if she doesn't agree to that amendment?
I believe the moderator has said that it is possible for someone to propose a change to the amendment, so it would come in the form of a motion that then town meeting can debate whether to adopt that change or not.
Perhaps Ms. McKenna is here and I can ask her. It would make things a lot easier at town meeting tonight if we had agreement among her as well as
Mr. Bartenstein, we actually are not going to bring in external voices on the summit, but Ms. McKenna will be able to determine that after we have taken a vote one way or the other. And if she agrees, then it can be a friendly amendment. If she does not, it would be an amendment to amendment, which, frankly, we just did last week, so we're all well practiced. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. I'm a little bit disappointed about the way the arguments and the issues have been framed so far in what I've heard in people speaking and what I've seen online. I'm very positive about some of the changes that have been made to the school budget since the summit process was finished, even though I'm not happy that those changes weren't made more clear during the summit process. But it seems that at the point we are now, the way this has been framed, it says we either approve an amendment to raise the school budget, and thereby we get the $250,000 to purchase the additional part of the curriculum plus the $375,000, or to support 5 positions for 1 year, or if it's the full $1.25 million to support 13 positions plus some other things. So just to back up a little bit, the issue I see is that what's happened is that during the summit process and in the school budget, the recommended budget published in January and the one voted on by the school committee in February, the budget materials from the schools included a plan to spend $3.8 million of in-year of reception circuit breaker funds. And we've been thinking of those funds a little bit like the town thinks of free cash. And now, after the budget reductions have been proposed, either way, whether the McKenna amendment passes or not, or whether there's a compromise, the circuit breaker in-year of reception funding spending is going to be reduced to below $1 million. That tells me there's at least $2.8 million in the school that the schools will have available to spend in a discretionary manner, that given this budget. So if those items, the 13 or 5 positions or the curriculum review support materials are so important and so critical, I really wonder why they're not included in the base budget. The base budget's $151 point something million. They don't come across it not being included in that base means they're being said that they're the lowest priority among all those items. The description doesn't fit with that. It's really inconsistent. And I wouldn't be surprised if those items were supported, and they could be supported even if the amendment is not, even if any amendment is not adopted. That is really my concern here, and I think that we really need to understand why the school department can't use $625,000 more in year of reception circuit breaker funding to support those positions, even without an amendment. I will note an analogy. Several years ago, let's say 4 or 5, 6 years ago, this town was using several $1 million a year in free cash to support the operating budget. And the then town manager and the finance staff and municipal staff said, this is a bad practice, we've got to change it. They didn't go cold turkey all in 1 year. The transition was made to be gradual so as to limit the impact on the budgets. I think the same kind of philosophy should apply to the school budget. If they're using so much in circuit breaker funding, I think it's a bad idea to reduce the use of the funds in the year they're received from a fairly high number to a very low number all in 1 year. This is the kind of issue, these kinds of positions and spending items are the things that would end up getting dropped, and it's not necessary.
Thank you, Mr.
That's my position.
Thank you. Ms. Jay, do you want to respond? I see that.
Yes, I would. I will take up 2 points that were raised here. One was about the question about why this wasn't part of the initial FY27 budget. Obviously, to create given limited revenues and outsized expenses, the budget was created. It was not a level service budget. There were many sacrifices made. We knew that. If you recall, when we went from Budget Summit 3 and went into Budget Summit 4, which is our last budget summit, the school committee and superintendent were actually putting in a request for $800,000 because we had some cost avoidance on health insurance, and we did have these needs that we unfortunately had to cut back on the original budget and had asked for that at that time. The other piece I would really like to clarify, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about this. As everyone knows, there were around 60 FTE positions that were staff reductions that were announced in whenever that was, February or March. Many of those were from enrollment reductions, so about 40 of those were. 20 positions in addition to that, to make up the 60, were done for budgetary reasons. And those cuts were a little deeper than needed to have happen. So the combination of those two kinds of reductions leading up to 60 FTE staff positions, that cost avoidance is actually going toward not having to draw into in-year circuit breaker. 75% of that cost avoidance from the staff reductions are going toward not having to draw in-year circuit breaker funds, and the 25% are going into what is labeled underfunded lines. That, I think, is a little bit of a misnomer, in that people assume that we consciously didn't give enough money to those lines. Those are lines we have traditionally had because our finances were so tight that some of those safety nets, we had unallocated positions that we normally have. We cut all of those out. Those are positions that we keep on hold in case there are needs during the year. Those were gone. The things like the budget line for substitutes, and substitutes are very costly in the school system, that was budgeted for less than is really needed. So the point is 25% of that cost savings from the staff reductions are going to backfill some of that. So contrary to what I think some people are believing, that all of this reliance on these safety nets are not financially responsible, I think it's just the opposite. I think doing the cuts that were necessary to get that savings, that cost avoidance, are actually putting us in a better, more stable financial footing and not having to draw on in-year circuit breaker and not having the ability to have those other funds available.
Thank you. Actually, no, I am going to try. We haven't even gotten through your whole committee, and we've got 2 more committees. So I understand that some of this information goes around, but what we want to do is get as much information out, ask the substantive questions that exist, and then figure out how we're going to proceed. So I see Mr.
Ms. Hay, can we just ask for, was there a vote from the appropriation
We're not done
committee?
with the AC yet. So I've got, Mr. Osborne's got his hand up, and then I agree with you. We need to know what the final, Mr. Osborne.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. Just a comment and a question. So my understanding was that we went through this budget process with a lot of compromises, and then we came up with an understanding that in the end, at least from the school side, that the agreed upon budget would not negatively impact learning outcomes. And and that was what we came into town meeting with, my understanding at least, and when everybody voted, came across and said they voted an agreement with Article 4. And now listening to the school committee members advocate for more money, as is almost their job description, it changes the context of the conversation. And so the question I have is, if the original budget did not negatively impact learning outcomes, which was our agreed upon goal, are we talking about things that, yes, would be good to have, because these are particular areas of concern if there's additional money, or was there a misunderstanding and that the original budget actually did have a negative impact on learning outcomes that were not realized when the school committee voted unanimously to vote for that budget?
Ms. J.
Yeah, I think I already answered that, but I'll just say it quickly again. The original budget did involve some sacrifices that, of course, many of them were going to affect learning outcomes, but we were working within the revenue we had. That always involves some sacrifice. I think the reason this is coming forward now, and we're trying to make the case that these particular positions, because of the transition we're in with things like the literacy curriculum, that it would have a positive impact not only on student learning, but also would, I think, as Ms. Roy was saying, will lead to perhaps an avoidance of higher costs for students who struggle and aren't caught early, and then have consequences both financial and academic.
Thank you. So, Mr. Pataky, I think we are looking for the position of the AC, if you all, what? You want to hear the rest of everybody, or the rest of this, I'm sorry, the rest of the board, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right.
I had a couple of questions of my own.
Please ask the questions. I am going to ask those of you who are making statements as opposed to questions to really try to limit it to 2 minutes, because we are at 8:19 and we still have 2 more boards to go.
Yeah, the question I had is, there was 160 pink slips issued and about 60 FTEs impacted. with the original budget. If the original budget stands, what's the current status today? Because I understand there are some of these positions have been reinstated. And what's the status going to be if the 1.25 million with the 13 FTEs are reinstated and if the 5 FTEs are reinstated?
Ms. J?
Okay, just to clarify, I don't know how fast I can do this, but think about the 60 FTE staff reductions. Those are positions. Those are positions that are not coming back unless this amendment, either the compromise or the full amendment, come back. If you recall, I said there were 20 positions that were budget related. If the compromise is voted in, then 5 of those 20 would come back, or would be retained for 1 year. If the full McKenna amendment is passed, then 13 of those 20 positions would be retained. The question you asked about the 160 pink slips, that's an entirely different process. So assume those 60 are no longer going to be there next year, those 60 staff positions. We have openings in the school system. The reason the 160 people got pink slips was that that's a contractual mechanism. If you have to do significant staff reductions, you issue those across the board to those with less than 3 years of service who don't have permanent status. So all of those people did get pink slips. Then there's an entire process that looks at all vacant positions, including some vacated by those people temporarily, as well as retirements, and you have all those open positions. Then there's a process that the administration goes through where they place people, match people to jobs. The first ones get placed are the people who have permanent status with the district, and they are matched, they are placed. After that, the people who were pink slipped are also eligible to be placed with jobs that match their skills. After that process was done, there were 25 people who were not placed, and I think there are still efforts to get them placed as well. So it was not the case that 160 people lost their jobs.
Thank you.
Ms. Hay, this was the first time the AC has had a chance to meet in public.
Right.
So if you can call on the other committee members, other committees, and I'll caucus here and find out what the...
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lamb for the Capital Expenditures Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In a perfect world, we wouldn't support this because free cash for operating includes insurance and retirement. But in the spirit of moving forward, we endorse the compromise. $250K is motherhood and apple pie. We're not able to condition our vote on certain measures being taken, specifically the committee being proposed, but we would strongly encourage the same type of transparency that's been discussed in this meeting with respect to major capital projects applied to the school committee budget. We hope this discussion will result in a mechanism for that to occur. That said, in the name of good optics and moving forward, we support the compromise amendment, the proposed compromise amendment 6-0, and we reject the original amendment 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Are there any other questions from any members of capital expenditures? Okay. I think actually this is a perfect time. Ms. Pickering-Cook, I believe you are here somewhere. I'm not sure. There you are. So there was a question raised about the ability of the schools to make more than a moral commitment about where they intend to use the funds, i.e., are they able to make a legal commitment about where the funds would be used if either of these proposals went through?
Good evening, all. Nina Pickering-Cook in place of your usual town council, Mina Macarius. My understanding is that the amendment on the floor of town meeting is to the budget article. Those are just financial figures and appropriation amounts. That does not include any other legal obligation or commitment. So certainly the school committee is making representations to the meeting and making representations to these other boards. But what would change in the article is purely just the appropriated number.
Thank you very much. All right. Does that add anything to either of the finance committees? Or are you ready for us to have our conversation? Mr. Michelson, did you have something? Mm-hmm.
So I know that Ms. Hay talked about looking at policies after town meeting and before the budget summit start in the fall. But let's pretend we're going to live in the present construct for next year. Does the school committee plan on pushing the fact that the budget, if this passes and $625,000 is added to your base budget, are you going to insist that that $625 be included in the calculation for the revenue split for next year? Therefore, increasing your percentage.
I didn't catch the last part of that.
Will the $625 be included in the total budget amount? Are you going to count on that being part of your revenue allocation for next year?
I assume it's whatever mechanism would be appropriate for free cash to be, I guess, would it be I'm not sure the mechanism. I would assume it's some kind of transfer into the school operating budget?
No, so that's not the question. The question is, when we start the budget summits, and we talk about, the split of the available revenue, I'm going to...
I see. Are you saying, would those 5 positions be part of the base budget going into that?
No, the dollar amounts. Would the $625,000 become part of the level service budget for next year?
Mr. Michelson, I did just confer with the town finance director, who has said that traditionally we pull that any one-time allocations from free cash are pulled out and are not considered a roll forward for base budget.
Thank you.
Okay. So now we come back to the select board. We did have this conversation at about 6:30 this evening, or 6:45, something like that. And I think we are in a similar place to many of our colleagues in that we do see the use of free cash to purchase curriculum supplemental materials as a one-time purchase, particularly in the setting where they come along with the curriculum. And so I think we can support that. There was some concern about the idea of using free cash, frankly, for staffing. This is not what we typically do, but we also, much like I think Mr. Lamb said, we talked about the fact that with the unanimous support of this group, we could be on board if this is what brought us all together and helped us close a difficult budget for 1 year with one-time expenses, which we do understand, as we just heard from Ms. Pickering Cook, are listed as personal commitments made by the school committee while not legally enforceable as such. We were and remain unanimously opposed to the McKenna amendment as it was proposed. And I don't know, I think, Mr. Sandin, did you have a specific question? I think you did on the curriculum materials.
Thank you, Ms. Hay. So we had talked about the curriculum materials being $700,000 for the first year, and then another $250,000 would get us through the next 5 years total. My question was, what happens after that 5 years is up? Does that 250 plus 700 buy out the license in perpetuity, or do we have another expense in year 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10?
I'm just double checking.
The traditional phone a friend.
I believe the structure is that the publishing company, once you buy the curriculum, for every year thereafter, there is an annual charge for materials. I think we could say that after purchasing this 5-year, which will gain us some savings, that I think after that it would come out of the school's operating budget. It's something like $90,000, I think, per year.
Thank you.
So I think I will start the ball rolling of needing the rest of you. I guess actually the CEC has taken a position, but needing the AC to do so as well. I think that one of the comments made by one of my colleagues earlier this evening really sums up where we are, as we do not typically, as I have said, do not like the idea of using one-time funds for salary, even where they are represented as one-time salaries. But we also recognize what I think was described as the gross depletion of trust and cooperation that has been shown throughout, I think, the last month across town meeting. And in an effort to begin that reparation between all of us, and I am not talking, I'm certainly not talking about the actions of our staff. I am talking about where we are as a community writ large. And we need to work towards solutions. So in an effort to do that, I think that the Select Board will support the compromise that was proposed by the chair and vice chair of the school committee at the $625,000, with a commitment that we will begin to work on what the fiscal policy group will exactly do, how it will be organized, and what its parameters will be as we come together in the first of the policy summits, which I hope to be within the next month. So with that said, I believe we have the CEC and the Select Board and the school committee supporting a school committee amendment to the McKenna amendment. Mr. Pataky, do you have you had a chance to poll your committee?
Yes, Ms. Hay. I think there's still a lot of concern with using the 625,000 for. Then we won't have this budget summit, right? The 625,000 for the salaries, so that's the 375 for the salaries. There's still a lot of concern on our committee, but I think the majority of us are willing to accept the commitment that this is a one-time position by the school committee and the superintendent, and we have to take their word for it that this will not come back in FY28. So we will support it by right now I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses and 3 noes.
Thank you. All right, so I think we have an answer that we are ready to give to town meeting, which was in fact the purpose of this summit. Am I hearing dissension over here? What? Okay, I apologize. We are actually 4-1, apparently. Okay, we are 3 to 1 to 1. We have 3 in favor, which is a majority of the Select Board. We have 1 abstaining at the moment, or at least waiting for a decision, and 1 opposed. Is that accurate? You have a mic, yes?
Let me explain my hesitation a little. I think I'm hearing the concerns that we came into this meeting with about using one-time revenue for one-time expense. This is a challenge because what we don't want to do is set precedent for this is what we did once and we can do it again. We also are, Ms. Kumar said this earlier tonight, but there's a process problem here, and this is not typically, in my years on the Select Board, this is not how we do budgeting. We all came to an agreement. I think we all settled on that.
It's not that everybody was happy with the outcome of that budget because we all wanted more. There was a lot of wants. We turned down pretty much every want that our municipal side wanted, and I'm sure they did the same thing on the school side. So it's very difficult now to say, let's take some money that was unanticipated and then backfill in, here's what our needs were when they were really wants, a couple weeks ago. So I'm sympathetic to the needs, but I'm very disappointed in the process that we're about to embark on. With that said, I would like to get out of this town meeting at some point as a body. And as a unified is also very important to me. I think we have to start the work now, not after this vote. We have a lot of work to do as 4 committees and boards to get ourselves back in order, get ourselves back in leadership positions where we are going to come together and discuss these hard problems that we're facing. So I'm going to support this with that in mind, but I think it's very important that we do this work. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I will just add one comment, which is we've talked about process a lot on mail, a lot elsewhere, and there seems to be a sense that, we don't know what we're doing. But let me be clear. The process that Lexington developed is the one that was then adopted by the Mass Municipal Association as the recommendation for budget setting processes through this summit process, and was then adopted by the Department of Labor Revenue for how all communities should do their budget process. It is not that we don't know what we're doing. It is not that we're doing something that is flawed. It is, we are facing a very difficult time at this stage, and the timing of the information was very poor. But that should not make us believe that as we go into our next years, that we can't overcome these challenges and come back to a more effective transmission of our budgets. So let's get on with finishing town meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Pato. And I will echo as well that nobody, at least on this side of the room, is happy about this, to be frank. We are doing this, A, to get out of town meeting, but B, to move things along, and to really work to repair what is going on between the 25 volunteers who are trying to make decisions collaboratively. And we have got to do better moving forward. So we do not anticipate having this conversation again next year, because if we are, it is going to go very differently. But in the act both of good faith and some level of exigency, we are supporting this, and I believe we are now 4-1. Is that right, Mr. Lucente? Did you? Yeah. Okay. So I think that is your answer, Ms. J, that you do have the majority of all of the boards. And with that, I am going to suggest that we adjourn and go back to town meeting. Okay. If I can get a motion.
Okay, well, actually,
yep.
Can I just...
Yep.
Now that we have heard that there is consensus, my board is 5-0 in support. And I just want to say we absolutely do have great respect for the process. This was not our amendment. We did not put it forward. And I think it did kind of upset the typical process here. But I think our board is also committed to not letting some of these things, these communications, these kind of breakdowns of timing and so forth. I think that's precisely why getting together now with the full summit going forward, we really do need to have those conversations and come together. And this compromise was put forward precisely in that spirit.
Thank you. And I think we will also all work very diligently on how we make the entirety of the budgeting more transparent to everyone. So with that, I will ask you for an adjournment for the school committee, please, Ms. J.
Can I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Okay, second? Okay, all those in favor? We are adjourned from the summit. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Pataky?
Can I get a motion to adjourn from Anu? Second. All those in favor? We're adjourned.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lamb?
Ms. Rhodes has made a motion to adjourn, and Mr. Rubenstein has seconded it. We're adjourned.
Thank you very much. And I am moving that the Select Board adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned, and I will turn the comm back over to our moderator.
School committee let Julie Hackett cut the budget too far. That's my feeling. They screwed up.
Or they let her open them up a week before town meeting.
They screwed up. They're not thinking about it.
Some folks are near hot mics.
The other, I mean, that's what started, what precipitated the whole thing was announcing the layoffs a week before town meeting started. That's a timing problem too.
I mean, to be fair to her, during the summit, she said that they were going to do that, but she said 20 to 30. She didn't say 60. 60. Of course, in the 60, I'm not sure whether they count.
The microphones are on.
Remember in 26,
we can hear you.
I mean, in the current fiscal year, there were, I forget, 40 positions that were never, or 35 positions that were never filled.
Right, exactly. So they didn't get rid of those.
And I'm not
Your
sure
mics are on.
in that 60.
Yeah, I know. And that's the hard part. I don't know. It's turning off today.
Town meeting members, I'm going to call this meeting to order in 3 minutes. Okay? The moderator needs a bath. This sixth session of the 2026 Annual Town Meeting will please come back to order. We are going to take attendance using our electronic voting system so we can establish the presence of a quorum. So I'll wait for staff to get that ready. This is a good time to review how to wake up your device. There's a button on top you need to press, and then you need to swipe up. There we go. Okay, so for purposes of giving us your attendance, it doesn't matter whether you do yes, no, or abstain, but please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback so you know that your vote has registered. If at any time during the meeting you're having difficulty participating in person, you should stand at your seat and get the attention of the IT staff so they can help you. If it's about voting, you should stand, get yourself to a microphone and let us know that you need to vote by voice. Identify yourself by precinct and name and how you want to vote. And for those who are remote, for those town meeting members who are remote, we have staff who can assist you on the helpline, 781-876-0093. However, if it's voting that you need help with, unmute yourself in Zoom, speak to get our attention, and we will take your vote by voice. And you'll just say your precinct number and your name and how you want to vote, and we will record that. So again, is anyone in the hall needing to give their attendance vote by voice? Just get to a microphone.
Yes. Moderator Phil Hamilton is present.
Phil Hamilton, Precinct 7?
Precinct 7. Sorry.
Precinct 7 is present. Mr. Lucenti? No. You're all set. Okay. Anyone remote need to unmute yourself and...
Hi, Kyle York, Precinct 1.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Kyle York, Precinct 1.
Okay. Kyle York is here.
Madam Moderator.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Margaret Counts Klebe, Precinct 6, present.
Margaret Counts-Clevey, Precinct 6, is present. And who's the other person? Hi.
Madam Moderator.
Let's take our remote person.
Madam Moderator.
Yes.
Yeah, Delano Bastian, Precinct 3, yes.
Yes. Mr. Bastian is here. What is your precinct again, sir?
Precinct 3.
Thank you, Precinct 3.
It's coming.
Ms. Manns.
Thank you. Wendy Manns, Precinct 4. I'm here. Also.
Wendy Manns, Precinct 4 is here. Anyone else?
Syed Rizvi, Precinct 2. I'm here.
What was the name again?
Syed Rizvi, Precinct 2.
Thank you, Mr. Rizvi. With an R, Rizvi. You were able to vote. Excellent. Terrific. Is there a reason why I can't see the folks on Zoom on this screen over here? Oh, they were? Okay, well, it's me. All right, it's going to be that kind of night, folks. Okay, we're going to close the attendance vote. And we do have a quorum. All right, then. So we're now going to take from the table Article 4, appropriate the fiscal year 2027 operating budget. When we place this on the table, Ms. McKenna's motion to amend was before us, so that is where we're going to take it up again. So let's place Ms. McKenna's motion on the screen, her motion to amend. A lot has transpired since we first took this up. Way back in March, and I'm going to ask each of the boards to update their positions on Ms. McKenna's amendment in the briefest way possible. And I'm going to start a new 30-minute timer and remind folks that everyone is limited to 3-minute comments. So Ms. Hay, for the recommendation of the Select Board.
The Select Board is unanimously opposed to the McKenna Amendment.
Thank you. Ms. Jay, for the School Committee?
I believe the School Committee stands in support of the McKenna Amendment. No, we're not talking about the compromise.
Right.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Try that again.
Sure. I'm going to ask the Appropriation Committee, Mr. Podeke, for...
With my apologies, Madam Moderator, I misunderstood the procedure here.
That's okay. We're all a little confused.
I double-checked that the School Committee is now opposed to the McKenna Amendment unanimously.
Thank you. Mr. Podeke for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee is unanimously against this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb for the Capital Expenditures Committee.
CEC 6-0 against.
Thank you. Okay, folks, so those of you who attended the summit, listened to the summit, know that we're going to hear a motion to amend Ms. McKenna's amendment, and I think that this is an appropriate time to do that. So I'm going to ask Ms. Jay for her motion.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I would like to move to amend Ms. McKenna's amendment by altering the dollar amount to $625,000.
Okay, and we'll also need to change the, I think we may need to make some changes to the first two numbers there, the line item 11. Sorry.
I'm not seeing that clearly enough. Could you at least guide me through
could we
the
go
changes?
Could we go back to Ms. McKenna's motion? Thank you. Okay, so we know that we're going to instead of taking an additional 1.25 million from free cash, that number is going to be, you said 625,000.
That's correct.
Right. And so can someone with a calculator make the other changes? Moderator doesn't do the calculator stuff, okay? I spent 9 years on the Appropriation Committee, folks. I did it then. All right. While they're creating a slide for us to look at, you all get the gist of it. We're asking for $625,000 rather than $1,250,000. And I'm going to give the maker of the motion up to 3 minutes to explain the rationale.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I want to start off by saying that we are grateful to the summit participants for considering and adopting a mutual compromise that reduces the dollar amount of free cash used, yet still funds the most critical of our school needs for a one-year transition. That is not just a successful resolution for this amendment for FY27. Far more importantly, it represents an ability for the town boards and committees to come together to solve difficult issues. With challenging fiscal times ahead, it is vitally important that we all work together to review finances, create informed projections, and make policy decisions to keep our town on a stable financial footing for the future. In voting on the amendment, it is you, town meeting members, who are responsible for making the ultimate choice on deciding what's best for the town while upholding the values of our community. We urge you to support the revised amendment. It restores 5 critical coaching positions for 1 year only. They will end after FY27. LPS would retain most likely 3 literacy coaches and 2 math coaches, or possibly 4 and 1. These are not permanent additions. They are targeted one-year supports designed to stabilize instruction during a critical transition. Why is keeping these positions for 1 year so vital? Teaching a child to read is foundational. It unlocks every subject and builds a child's sense of capability as a learner. Next year, LPS will implement a new K-5 literacy curriculum. Its success depends on how well it's implemented in classrooms every day for every student. In this initial rollout, literacy specialists are essential, supporting teachers in implementing and identifying struggling students early before small gaps become large ones. When a child falls behind in reading, it changes how they experience school. They begin to wonder what's wrong with them, and even when help comes later, that feeling is much harder to undo. That is the cost of waiting too long. Math coaches will support content learning for special education students in a general education setting so that they can improve their learning in a more inclusive environment. By supporting our most vulnerable students early, not only do their outcomes improve, but it can actually reduce the district's long-term cost for special education services or even far more costly outplacements. We can either invest now when support is most effective or pay significantly more later, academically, financially, and in the confidence of our students. This is the fiscally and educationally responsible choice. This is not an expansion. It is a targeted, time-limited investment to get this right at a critical moment. The school committee urges you to vote yes on the revised amendment.
Thank you. Ms. Hay for the Select Board.
So before I even do that, I just want to clarify for everyone that as you're looking at this right now, the personal services $131,899,406 has been increased by the $375,000. The literacy curriculum has been increased from $700 to $950. The total in line item 1100 has been adjusted up by the $625, and the total on the free cash has been reduced by $625. So that is all reflected as we will scan down, you'll be able to see the free cash at the bottom. And the position of the Select Board is 4 members in favor and 1 member opposed. And that opposition is because that member felt the curricular materials actually were not one-time purchases.
Thank you. Mr. Podeke for the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, as we mentioned during the summit, the Appropriation Committee is 5 for and 3 against this amendment.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb for the Capital Expenditures Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I had plenty of words written up about why this involves capital, but I'm going to save those. So we're 6-0 in favor.
Thank you. And Ms. McKenna as the
I didn't report our actual school committee vote. Would you mind if I do that?
I would love for you to.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The school committee is in unanimous support of the revised amendment.
Thank you. And then we give time to Ms. McKenna because this was her original motion to amend to hear her recommendation on this. Ms. McKenna.
Madam Moderator.
Thank you.
Thank you. I walk up here very slowly as I am very torn about this amendment to the amendment. I have heard from many people who have been very pleased with the opportunity to give the schools what they need in order to go forward. I think the context to frame this in is where I started. This was really a very simple motion about allowing us to use the $2 million in budget surplus that still existed as we started this discussion. I also have been speaking with all of the members of the, or many of the members of the boards and committees that have been talking about this. This summit process has evolved over many years, and I was part of the original select board when we developed this process. The frustration on my part is much of what was expressed tonight. This is not the same process. What I'm very proud of is that this conversation has led to a discussion about those policies and about the fact that we are not, we have more work to do in order to be able to move forward in a positive way. It's very easy to govern and make policy decisions when the money is flowing in every year. But when it wasn't, which is when this process started, is when it's most difficult. And what I urge everybody to think about going forward is the conversations that every one of us have, and the conversations that the staff has, and the advice that they give is not personal. It's about what we all feel is in the best interest of the town. And the one thing I know about Lexingtonians is they want the truth. They're very smart. They can figure it out. They know when things are being told in one way versus the other. And so we all have to do better, every single one of us. And I'm very happy that this has resulted in a process where we will do better next year. And we will do better starting as soon as town meeting ends. With that being said, I believe firmly that this is a win. We started with no opportunity to put more money back into the school budget. We are here at a point where they have resolved a lot of the staffing issues, not all of the staffing issues, not all of the policy issues that they haven't even talked about in terms of what the different curriculum may or may not look like. But what I do know in my gut is that absent this $650,000, there will be a lot more pain. And that money allows them to do some other things and address that pain. So I'm going to very reluctantly, like others did, support this amendment and make it a friendly amendment on my point. But I also urge everybody to stand up and say what they felt about the additional money so that the leaders can continue to hear the frustration out in this community right now. and we have to find a better way because going forward it's going to be harder. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna. So Ms. McKenna has indicated that she will consider this a friendly amendment. So this will become the amendment, the language that Ms. Jay has presented to you is now the language of the amendment before you. So what we are going to do now is debate on whether we are going to amend the original motion under Article 4 to reflect this compromise that would increase the school budget by $625,000. So that is what we are debating. Everybody clear on that? Okay, so I am going to move to look at the folks in line. Mr. Michelson, do you still have a point of order? You were working on the math for me, weren't you? Thank you, good man. Okay, Ms. Sykes with a question. And remember, everyone's limited to 3 minutes and answers should be crisp. Ms. Sykes.
Madam Moderator, Nicola Sykes, Precinct 8. Through you to the superintendent, please. I feel like we've heard two different ideas about what the literacy coaches would be completing. Would they be intended to be coaching the staff in the implementation of the new curriculum, or would they be working directly with students?
Thank you. Dr. Hackett.
Through you, Madam Moderator, to the speaker, the intention is for the literacy coaches to work directly on the curriculum implementation, and also basically the focus would be on the teaching portion and not so much the direct service. The case that we made in some of the communications is that if you have that additional support, then that indirectly helps the direct service.
Thank you. Ms. Sykes.
My second question is following on Mr. Levine's question from earlier. Why are we looking at this as dipping into free cash instead of using the circuit breaker? After the reduction in staffing that was announced after the budget was proposed, there is now a smaller amount of circuit breaker fund that's being used in year. And so why dip into free cash rather than using that money?
Dr. Hackett, do you want to take that or do you want the school committee? It's up to you.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dr. Hackett.
Through you, Madam Moderator. I think it's a good question. I think it's an interesting point. For us, the challenge is we started with an underfunded budget, and we knew that going in. So our initial request was 4.6%, and we landed at 3.9%. So we had lines that couldn't be funded. Additionally, we had exposure on circuit breaker for the in-year use, which is not good. Those two things caused a significant deficit for us moving forward. If we want to address those problems, then we don't use circuit breaker to do it, which means we had to do something other than move forward with the plans or keep those positions in place. So we ended up identifying 60 positions, 60 FTE to be cut so that we could put 75% toward circuit breaker and 25% toward those underfunded lines. The whole point of the cuts is to address the vulnerabilities we have in the budget. Yes, if we wanted to, we could say that kind of ramp to zero with circuit breaker could go more slowly. I think that was Mr. Levine's point. But we don't want to be in a bad position. We don't want to come back. We also think if we did do that, if we did put money in or we went less slowly, we would be subject to a lot of criticism by the bodies who have spoken about don't use free cash for this purpose. Make sure you're balancing all the funds. So we do not think it's best to draw on that circuit breaker. We were prepared to make those 60 cuts. We didn't ask for this amendment. We didn't coordinate this amendment. We were asked, would you put salaries in place if you were given more money? That is consistent with the position that we had at Budget Summit.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sykes.
One final question. I would like to hear from members of the various boards, please, Madam Moderator, if there are any concerns about the impact of this use of free cash on contract negotiations.
Select Board.
Madam Moderator, the Select Board does not get to participate at all in the school committee contract negotiations, but we have been told that none of this money will go towards that. There is a budget which includes a line for a 2.5% COLA and a salary increase that is baked in with assumptions. And we just have to trust that that's going to be held within that, and that this money is not going towards that.
Thank you, Ms. Jay, for the school committee. And then I don't think I'm going to call on the finance committees on this question.
I would concur with what Ms. Hayes said, that as we've established, these are going to specific positions that will be retained, so it should not have any impact on the contract negotiations.
Thank you, Ms. Sykes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman, do you have a point of order?
Yes. Are we currently debating the amendment to the amendment, or if it was accepted as friendly, shouldn't we go back to the original amendment? I'm confused about where we are in this nesting. I thought when an amendment
Mr. Kaufman, I'm going to stop you right there. Let me repeat. We are debating an amendment to Article 4. The text of that amendment is now what Ms. McKenna has accepted as a friendly amendment. So it is Ms. Jay's language. So we are debating whether to amend the original motion under Article 4 to reflect the language from Ms. Jay, the $625,000.
So the McKenna amendment is no longer on the floor?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Yan with a question.
Through you, Madam Moderator, Catherine Young, Precinct 5. So I do have a question for the school committee and maybe the superintendent. Is in the context of this $250,000 that you were going to use for this curriculum, how was it that was it not actually included in the original budget that you proposed in the budget summit? Why propose it now?
Ms. Jay. Of course, Dr. Hackett. Thank you. Oh, turn it back on. Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
The question has to do with whether or not we advocated for this additional portion of the literacy curriculum through the budget summit process. And the answer is we did advocate for it. In fact, Ms. Jay, in the January budget summit, it was the 4th budget summit meeting, asked very specifically about this portion. The reason she asked about this additional portion for the literacy curriculum is because paying that money up front, that additional $250, saves another $90,000. So it's a good investment.
I understand that. So through you, Madam Moderator, to, I guess, some of the other finance committees, in the consideration for this, why would, in the context of the budget summit, you not allow for this to have happened overall in decision?
Mr. Potake for the Appropriation Committee.
I don't believe we discussed specifics on the curriculum itself. We were presented a budget by the school committee for the $700,000 literacy curriculum, and we understood that was going to fit within the agreed upon dollars available.
Ms. Yan.
So through you, Madam Moderator, the next question is then, in the context of the coaches, that you have the learning coaches then to the school committee or to Dr. Hackett, is from the math context, this is a literacy curriculum, whereas the math actually component of this is added in, and I guess through what Ms. Sykes had asked about the utilization of these coaches as a one-time usage of the free cash.
Thank you, Dr. Hackett.
The math coach portion of this is dedicated to a very specific need related to illustrative math. That's our math curriculum. We purchased it after the pandemic, shortly after. It is a heavily language-based program, and sometimes there is a challenge for children with disabilities to access the program, particularly children in our programs like ILP, Intensive Learning Program. So the idea or the concept is to take the coaches for math and make sure that they are supporting illustrative math with respect to special education and building the capacity among our special educators so that they can make sure that we are including children with disabilities in the curriculum more than we do currently. There is effort to do that, but I think we have a long way to go in terms of getting that completely right. So the idea would be that they work with teachers in special education, build the supports. That would be for a year related to the illustrative math curriculum for special education, and then we phase it out, take it to scale.
Thank you, Ms. Yan.
So can I ask more questions?
You have 40 seconds.
Okay, so through you, Madam Moderator, to the superintendent. So how does this, how do you, after this 1 year, how do you continue to allow for this to be propagated so that the kids can continue to learn in a meaningful way?
Dr. Hackett.
Through you, Madam Moderator, it's going to take a lot of effort and sharing of best practices. So the coaches would work on how to support our teachers in that process, and then we need, through professional development and high-quality training in the system, bring those practices to scale. So you would see things like workshops related to what they were learning from the work with children, about inclusive practices, probably lists of best practices among educators in the school system, trying out concepts that haven't been tried before, and inviting people into classrooms so that they could see the model at work, much like we did with the literacy curriculum this past year, and trying those techniques out and strategies, and then working on taking them to scale.
Ms. Yan.
So this is a slightly different question in the context of how it's affecting the rest of the, through you, Madam Moderator, sorry, to the superintendent. How is it affecting the rest of the teaching that's happening throughout Lexington? My take on, I'm sure a lot of people here have talked to people around that there are more losses than expected. How is that being approached now?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Yan.
Thank you.
Dr. Hackett.
Through you, Madam Moderator, and I think I need clarification when you say losses. What are you referring to?
Briefly, Ms. Yan.
Library staff, different throughout K through 12 performance, or other types of digital learning coaches that you try to reintroduce back in your current letter.
Thank you.
And the question is, how are we managing those losses?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. There are losses. There are many losses, and this is what's made this budget process so difficult. And the magnitude of losses is particularly impactful. It is not easy to lose any of our staff. They are fantastic, and they've done such a great job, and they have relationships and connections with children, so it makes it particularly hard. They have relationships and connections with families. That's also hard. We are working on, transitioning to new ways of doing business. It is going to be difficult without digital learning coaches. They've done a lot for our system. They've been in place for 20 some odd years. We won't have them anymore, and we're going to need to be transitioning to library media specialists. The losses are going to be felt, and it's going to be impactful to the system. We are trying to support one another as best we can. We also have realistic people in the system who understand and recognize that when our enrollments go down, we can't maintain the same level of staffing. So we're working on doing our best to support one another. We're working on doing our best to ensure that people who have been displaced through this job process or this reduction process have a landing spot in Lexington Public Schools. And it's been great. Prior to the vacation, we were able to communicate that we were down to, as Ms. Jay said earlier, 25 positions lost. What happens every year, and this sometimes gets confusing as well, is we have turnover that happens. In fact, we analyze from the month of March to the end of the school year, we have about 80 vacancies. That happens for a variety of reasons. One of the reasons is people take long-term leaves of absence. Sometimes they move, sometimes they take a new job, sometimes they have a baby. There are all kinds of reasons for that, but on average, March to June, it's about 80 FTE. That means we have 25 Unit A, to be specific, people displaced right now. So about 45 of those or so are teacher positions. We should be able to match people up as long as the licenses match and as long as it's a continued good fit for the system. So I am optimistic that the majority will stay with us even if they're not in those particular positions, and that matters to our school community because we are a community. We care about each other, and we are a big family, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Holm in the no line.
Thank you. Vida Batterina Home, Precinct 7. Madam Moderator, through you. This town should not keep robbing Peter to pay Paul, propping up bad stewardship of the Lexington Public Schools by injecting free cash from other pots will just continue feeding the school administration's spending addiction. As we have heard from taxpayers, school administrators should tighten its budget by eliminating fat. For example, cut the bloat in the administration. Stop throwing away money with the repeated moves of the superintendent's office. Cut the superintendent's salary. No more expensive out-of-town junkets, ditch Chromebooks, etc. How much was spent on the campaign for the Bloom Project? How much did the so-called envisioning sessions cost with the sugary snacks and beverages where no budget was discussed and taxpayer input was again ignored? How much did we pay for architects to meet with the student SBC? Why weren't taxpayers included in these meetings? Mismanagement should not be rewarded so freely. Please vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman in the yes line.
Steve Kaufman, Precinct 5. I move the previous question.
Okay, Mr. Kaufman is suggesting that we move to a vote on whether to close debate on the motion to amend that's on the floor. So we're going to prepare for that vote. Ms. Davis, what's your point of order?
It may be irrelevant if this...
I can't hear you.
It may be irrelevant if voting is closed, but I thought I was on the list previously after Mr. York and my name disappeared. So I added myself back to the question list.
Okay, but
at the end, but
now we're going to, now we're going to take, sorry about that. Okay, all those in favor of ending debate on the motion to amend, press yes. All those who want to continue debate, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you got the proper feedback on the screen. Is there anyone in the hall who needs to vote by voice? And is there anyone who's remote who needs to vote by voice? If you are remote, unmute yourself and get our attention. Do not raise your hand in Zoom. I will not see it. Okay, we will close that vote.
Madam Moderator, yes.
Okay, Mr. Bastian, thank you. Mr. Bastian, what is your precinct number again?
Precinct 3.
Mr. Bastian, precinct 3. If we can get your vote in, we will. You vote yes on closing debate.
Madam Moderator, Tony Galazis, precinct 5. The pad gave me confirmation that I voted, but when I saw the
well, we haven't closed the vote yet.
It was not there.
We haven't closed the vote yet.
Oh, you'll cycle it again? Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's close the vote. In this matter, 112 having voted in the affirmative, 52 in the negative, and 12 abstaining. The motion, yes, we set up for 2/3. Motion passes, and by more than the necessary 2/3. So, Ms. J, before we take a final vote on your motion to amend, do you have any succinct final comments?
Only that we're grateful to the summit participants for coming to a consensus. Thank you.
Okay, folks. So now we're preparing a voting screen to vote on whether to amend the main motion under Article 4 with this language about the $625,000. So we're preparing for that vote. If you are in favor of this motion to amend, press yes. If you are opposed, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. And I will pause now for anyone who needs to vote by voice.
Madam Moderator.
Mr. Bastian.
Yes, precinct 3.
You vote yes?
Yes.
Mr. Bastian, precinct 3, votes yes. No, this is James Baldwin. We need Mr. Bastian. This is the wrong member. Did we fix it? We got Mr. Bastian's vote? Okay. Anyone else need to vote by voice? Yes. Why? Okay, true, yes, we aren't amending the original amendment. Can we fix? Okay, so for the record, and the clerk is going to record this, thank you. We are voting on whether to amend the main motion that's been offered under Article 4 to increase the school budget by $625,000 in the various ways that we looked at in the beginning when Mr. Michelson and Ms. Hay did their calculation. We're going to record that in the clerk's notes. Okay? That's what we're voting on. Thank you for catching that. We're going to close the vote. In this matter, 145 having voted in the affirmative, 28 in the negative, and 5 abstaining, the motion carries. Okay, folks. So now we're back to Article 4, except we've made this change to the school budget. So now the folks who want to get in line should get in line if you want to ask a question or debate some other aspect of Article 4. Or we could just simply move to a final vote on Article 4. It is up to you. Those are your options, just saying. Not tipping the scale at all. Okay, so we need to repopulate the list. Very good. Ms. Crocker, what's your point of order?
Madam Moderator, question. We did have a queue list for Article 4 before we went into...
I'm sorry, yes, and that's what we've just repopulated, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. I
Yeah,
thought you were
but good for
starting
you,
from scratch.
good for you to double check. Ms. Colburn, Ms. Colburn with a question.
I was trying to take myself out of line, Madam Moderator. I don't have a question anymore.
Okay, that's all right. Mr. Anderson with a question. Mr. Anderson? Ms. Holm in the yes line.
Vida Batterina Home, Precinct 7. Madam Moderator, through you.
Yes.
I'm speaking as a parent of 2 children who were accepted to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT. My children got to MIT and similar colleges on their own merit with no connections. I thank the excellent teachers, the Lexington educators who supported, challenged, and nurtured them. I'm now concerned about the deteriorating delivery of education in Lexington. The latest program of studies reveals downgrading of course offerings. Superintendent Hackett cut 33% of high school science class time. And this fall, top science courses will be allotted 4 periods instead of 6. Access to AP classes will also be more limited. She's also cutting languages. Students with A- in art science in 9th grade have been denied seats.
Ms. Holm, I'm just going to pause for a moment because I'm a little confused, so other people might be confused. You're in the yes line to give your reasons for why we should vote for the operating budget.
Yes, I will vote for the operating budget.
Okay.
But I'm just saying why it's necessary to have an operating budget.
Okay, try to keep your comments to why you're voting yes.
Okay. I'm voting for a budget. Limiting students to lower level classes forces them to do self-study. Real school, which is intensive tutoring, starts at 3:30 p.m. Yes. APs demonstrate rigor and allow students to receive college credit and place into higher level courses. Advanced standing at schools such as MIT, Cornell, Harvard, Wellesley, UMich, and more allow students to, for example, to graduate with a master's degree in 4 years. Coupled with college-like campus similar to Belmont Hill, Phillips, and Dover, Lexington students have historically been well prepared for the transition to college and adult life. A few weeks ago, the superintendent gave a glowing report.
Ms. Holm, I'm really going to have to ask you to stop. You really should be speaking very specifically to why you support the Article 4 budget. If you know, these sound like comments you may want to make at a school committee meeting, and that would be a better venue for this.
Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we really need to speak directly to. No, I need you to speak directly to the motion.
Okay. Please vote for the budget as amended.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for understanding. Mr. Michelson in the no line. Okay. Lauren Black with a question.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Lauren Black, Precinct 8. Through you, I think perhaps to the school committee or the superintendent, Dr. Hackett, I'm wondering, given all the discussion we've had in the budget summit and the revised budget summit about out-of-district costs being a part of the issue associated with increasing, the need for increasing the school budget, has there been any discussion, or will there be discussion about sort of making the in-district programming more robust to try to bring some of those students who were previously placed out of district? I'm thinking particularly of ILP students and LCP students, even preschoolers, where space constraints may have been a concern previously, and that might have been the reason why they were placed out of district.
Mr. Black, excuse me, Dr. Hackett. Mr. Black, I'm going to need you to see if you can get that microphone closer because we're not hearing you
into it, but yeah.
as clearly as we could. Dr. Hackett.
Through you, Madam Moderator, we have had extensive discussion about costs related to special education, related to outplacements. We had a recent special ed district review or audit where we asked them to analyze what those costs are like. One of the findings of that audit was that the costs in district are very substantial and more than what it used to be in the past. So the immediate assumption is if you bring children into the system, you'll save money. That's not necessarily always the case. However, when you start to factor in things like escalating costs for transportation, it starts to become a very real pressure. So we are going to have more discussion about that. As you pointed out with LCP, we had a space crunch. But as we see the enrollments drop, maybe there are more opportunities to bring more programming in. In the past, we have, you know this, we have expanded in other schools and expanded our programming so that we can have a very cohesive experience for children K through 12, and that's been a very good thing. So if there's opportunity to figure out how to do this in cost-effective ways, we'll take a look at it, and always we're looking for what is the experience of our children and how can we make it better.
Mr. Black.
Great, thank you, Madam Moderator. I think I'm finished with the questions, but I'll just make a brief comment with the remainder of my time, if that's okay. I appreciate that answer, and I'm glad to hear it. I think that many of the parents in town who are parents of children with special needs, hear the talk around this budget and the idea that special needs is really a driving force as problematic. I think hopefully much of the town meeting that's assembled here recognizes hopefully that these are required costs by law, that we have to educate all students to their need, and that is not something that is a want or a we can maybe do this. It's something that we have to do. And for many of these students, these services are desperately required, and I hope that as we move forward through this next budget cycle and hearing everything that we heard at the summit today, that people begin to recognize that that's something that we need to pay attention to. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Merkin in the public line.
Hello, my name is Michael Merkin. I live at 15 Bridge Street. I am a junior at Lexington High School currently. I want to clarify, I have 2 or 3 minutes to speak. Madam Moderator.
I'm sorry.
I want to clarify how long I have to speak.
No more than 3 minutes.
No more than 3 minutes. Okay, thank you. So, as currently a junior at Lexington High School, I wanted to clarify some things for a lot of the town meeting members that might not be directly in contact with members of the LPS staff, that a lot of these budget cuts were framed as size reductions that are happening because of less enrollment in the elementary school levels, but these cuts are impacting all 3 levels of education. We are losing at the high school our German education program. We are losing at the elementary level, I believe it was something like 1/3 to half of our orchestra classes. We are generally losing many different teachers across fields and are forcing other teachers to cover up for that. And I wanted especially to highlight the fact that I've heard from multiple members of the town meeting today talks of somewhat reckless spending on the part of the school committee, but I wanted to highlight that this is mainly because the school committee currently is the one that is growing, because of course as laws change, as we have more special education opportunities, that's going to increase. What doesn't get interrogated is the reckless spending of the municipal government, and especially the way that it pertains to...
Okay, so we try very hard not to cast aspersions on one side of the government or another. So let's just try to keep it positive.
Okay. And I would like to highlight that currently the ratio of division of budget between the 2 sides of school and municipal was created by somebody who doesn't work, I believe, in Lexington Town anymore, previous town manager prior to Steve Bartha. It is a system, currently speaking, that what we can see is Lexington is not experiencing capital gains, capital growth, but Lexington is famed for its education. If you take away the education funding, then that's only going to lead to downturns in capital growth in the future. We're functionally shooting ourselves in the foot by taking away money from the school so that we can, and by having this specific ratio set out that really, as we can see from all these discussions, from 3 meetings where many, many town members have shown up to watch and to protest and to signal the fact that the current ratio is not representing the town of Lexington's needs, and that just generally this entire budget was already created on an incorrect assumption that the ratio of budget split as it stands currently is how it should be, and that the past dictates the future. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Merkin. Good job keeping that to 3 minutes. Marcia Baker in the no line.
Madam Moderator, Masha Baker, Precinct 7. I call the question.
Okay, folks, we're going to take a vote on whether you're ready to close debate on Article 4 as amended. Okay. All those in favor of closing debate on Article 4, press yes. All those who want to continue debate, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback so you know your vote has been received. And I'll pause for anyone who needs to vote by voice. And again, we're voting on closing debate.
Madam Moderator,
Mr. Bastian, how do you vote?
yes.
Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3, votes yes on closing debate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 119 having voted in the affirmative, 47 in the negative, and 11 abstaining, the motion carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. Let's see. Ms. Hay, as the maker of the original motion under Article 4, do you have any final comments before we move to a final vote?
I do not. Let's just put this to bed.
Okay. All right, folks, we're going to wait for staff to prepare a final voting screen for the motion under Article 4. And just to remind you all, you have amended it on the school line item, so it differs in that respect from the original motion. So we are now taking a final vote on Article 4. All those in favor of the motion under Article 4, press yes. All those opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. I'll pause for voice votes.
Madam Moderator, Delano Bastian, Precinct 3, yes.
Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3, votes yes. Anyone else? Okay, let's close that vote. In this matter, 167 having voted in the affirmative, 3 in the negative, and 7 abstaining, the motion carries. The meeting is now open on the consent agenda. So, yes. Ms. McKenna has served notice of reconsideration of the line item for the Lexington Public Schools, timely and duly noted. The meeting is now open on the consent agenda. So this is a bundle of motions that we take up all together for one vote. No presentations at this meeting, although there's presentation material online that's been available to you all, and no debate, but you can pose questions if you have questions about any of the items. If 25 or more members feel that there's something on this list that needs to be taken out for separate debate and vote, they may do so if they convince 25 people of that. So if we could show the consent agenda, I'm going to remind folks that we've taken the buckets for the community preservation articles off of this consent agenda because we took them off and voted them separately so that we could put the money in the various category budgets so we could then vote the whole CPA article. So this is what's left, quite a number of items. So I'm going to just go through it, sort of quickly listing each item and see if we have any questions about anything. So we have Article 3, appointments to Cary lectures. Article 5, appropriate fiscal year 2027 enterprise funds budgets. And just remember, folks, in order for an item to be included on the consent agenda, it had to have the unanimous consent of the finance committees, the select board, and the school committee, if it's a school committee item. Unanimous support for the motion and unanimous support that it was appropriate to be included on the consent agenda. Article 10, appropriate for the fiscal year 2027 Community Preservation Committee operating budget and CPA projects. Mr. Savalas with a question.
Alex Savalas, Precinct 5. Madam Moderator, I have a question on Article 11.
Which one?
Article 11.
Thank you. That's the recreation capital projects.
Correct. Yes, thank you. I would like to better understand, so this is the article that is for Pine Meadows. It's for a lawn aerator and a sprayer, just to share with everybody. I'd like to better understand the products and ultimately the chemicals that will be sprayed all over the grounds and the greens of Pine Meadows. I asked the question on the portal of what the sprayer would be used for, and the answer was fungicides and pesticides are used in accordance with the state and applied by certified applicator. Can someone share details on what would be actually sprayed?
Thank you. Who's prepared to address that?
Our Director of Public Works, Mr. Pinsnow, is online. If you could recognize him, please.
Mr. Pinsnow.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I don't have the specific products, but all of the products that are used are certified by both EPA and then the state of Massachusetts. And they are in line with the products that are used on golf courses throughout the state and throughout the country. So it is for those items in the normal course of preparing a golf course and having it be able to handle the play that occurs. That is what they are looking at, and the sprayer that they have no longer meets the needs for the operation at Pine Meadows.
Mr. Savalas.
Through you, Madam Moderator. Thank you, Dave. So my concern is that as further studies are indicating and more research has shown that these are highly unregulated chemicals by the EPA itself. And so I have great concerns about the consequences of spraying these chemicals into our environment. So unless we know exactly what the chemicals are, I would like to move to pull out Article 11 for consideration.
Are there 24 people who join Mr. Savalas and wanting to pull that out? Yeah. Okay, close enough. We'll pull that one out. Thank you. So that's Article 11. Both A and B?
Just the sprayer specifically.
Is that?
I don't know if they're separate, actually.
Is the sprayer in A or B? A? Okay, so we're going to just pull out 11A. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Madam Moderator, in May of 2025, the Journal of the American Medical Association published a study.
Mr. Savalas, we're not going to take it up now. We're just going to pull it out, and we're going to try to do the rest of the consent agenda.
Got it. Apologize. Thank you.
Thank you. Just hold hold your fire. Article 12, appropriate for municipal capital projects and equipment. Article 13, appropriate for water system improvements. Mr. McGaugh, with a question.
Madam Moderator, Bridger
Yes.
McGaugh, Precinct 6. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Through you to the Assistant Town Manager for Finance, is the use of the term free cash the same as funding some of these Article 12 items with general fund, unreserved fund balance?
Ms. Kosnoff.
Through you, Madam Moderator, the answer to that is yes. Undesignated fund balance is the same as free cash.
Thank you. Mr. McGaugh.
Okay, so just to confirm, these reoccurring capital expenses are being, in Article 12 on the consent agenda, are also being paid for with free cash this year. That would be Articles 12, the sidewalk improvements. Was it? We got equipment replacement, sidewalk improvements, hydrant replacement, street improvements, stormwater management program. Those are all things that happened last year and also things that are happening next year, but those are all being paid for in some way, shape, or in part with free cash.
Ms. Kosnoff.
Through you, Madam Moderator. So all of those are capital programs, which means that we do fund money to them each year, but each one of those things is actually funding separate. So we don't do the same sidewalk over and over again. We do different sidewalks. And so it is addressing lists of items that need to be approved, not the same thing over and over again.
Mr. McGaugh.
Yeah, yes. Sorry for the misstatement there. Yes, so annually, these are reoccurring programs using free cash for one-time repairs of different sidewalks or different streets. Is that accurate?
Ms. Kosnoff.
Through you, Madam Moderator. So yes, again, these are capital programs that the town invests in annually to ensure that we are maintaining the assets that we own.
Mr. McGaugh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you.
No further questions.
Article 14, appropriate for wastewater system improvements. Mr. McGaugh, do you still have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Article 15, appropriate for school capital projects and equipment. Article 16, public facilities capital projects. Article 17, post-employment insurance liability fund. Article 18, rescind prior borrowing authorizations. Article 20, appropriate for prior year's unpaid bills. Ms. McKenna with a question.
Madam Moderator, Dawn McKenna, sorry I didn't do it fast enough, but I just had a question about Article 17.
Sure, go ahead.
Because there was the Lamb amendment, is that not happening anymore to Article 17?
No, that was under a different set of circumstances. He was going to pull that out, but that's no longer the case. But I'll let Mr. Lamb speak for himself.
Yeah, that was Article 15, not 17, and that was only if the Diaz amendment prevailed. It was a reallocation of free cash to a different capital item.
Oh, okay, correct.
Okay, Madam Moderator, just to note that the amendment form that was posted online says Article number 17. So
right,
maybe it got changed.
but it's a moot point.
But it's Article 15. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Article 21, appropriate for authorized capital improvements. Article 22, street acceptance, Willard Circle, Cart Path Lane, and Stagecoach Road. Article 29, select board to accept easements. Article 32, amend general bylaws, Chapter 35. And Article 35, amend zoning bylaw, technical corrections. Ms. Sykes with a question.
Apologies, Madam Moderator, Nicola Sykes, Precinct 8. Article 18, in the version that I see, says funds requested unknown at press time. Has that been updated?
I'm sorry, say that one more time, I couldn't understand.
Article 18 in the version that I have says funds unknown at the unknown at press time. Has that been updated?
Again, I'm having a lot of trouble understanding this microphone, and it's not just you. So you, are you talking about Article 18?
18, yes.
So I printed this out today. I'm not sure when you downloaded it, but it has amounts.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Okay, we're ready to move to a vote on the consent agenda. And this is going to require a 4/5 vote. Yeah, because of some item on here. Sorry, with the microphone, since my response is, ridiculous.
I was saying it's due to bills of a prior year.
Right, that requires a 4/5 quantum of vote. So we are preparing to vote on the consent agenda. We have pulled out one item, so we're not voting on that one item related to Pine Hill Golf Course, but everything else. So all those in favor of the consent agenda, press yes. All opposed, press no. And please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. And I will pause for anyone who needs to vote by voice.
Yes, Madam Moderator. Delano Bastian, Precinct 3. Yes.
Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3, votes yes. Anyone else? Okay, let's close that vote. In this matter, 161 having voted in the affirmative, 4 in the negative, and 7 abstaining, the motion carries and has exceeded the necessary 4/5 quantum. Are we good? Okay. So, we are cruising, guys. We are just cruising. Ms. Hay, I'd like a motion to next take up Article 19.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Does anyone have any objection to taking up Article 19? Seeing none, the motion carries. The meeting's now open on Article 19, establish, amend, dissolve, and appropriate to and from specified stabilization funds. The motion is the one before you, and it's dated March 9th, 2026, and on file with the town clerk. Mr. Lucenti for that motion.
Madam Moderator, this is an annual article that seeks to...
Mr. Lucenti, could you say I so move first?
I so move.
Thank you.
Sorry, I got way ahead of myself.
No, that's all right. Now.
Okay. Madam Moderator, this is an annual article that seeks to establish, amend, dissolve, and fund specified stabilization funds for particular purposes, and to appropriate money from those funds when needed. Money in these funds may be invested, and any interest earned becomes part of the respective fund. For the 2026 annual town meeting, Article 19 includes 6 recommended actions. 19A requests that $6,580,908 be appropriated into the Capital Stabilization Fund from the tax levy. This amount represents the cumulative new tax levy growth reserved from specific commercial properties since 2022. That's set aside as part of the town's ongoing strategy to help mitigate the future tax impact of the excluded debt service for major capital projects, especially Lexington High School. Design of the high school is underway, and construction is anticipated to begin in summer of 2026. The town has already begun issuing bonds for the project, with the first principal and interest payments due in FY 2027. Article 19B requests that $800,000 be appropriated to the general fund for debt service related to projects excluded from the limits of Proposition 2.5, with that appropriation funded from the Capital Stabilization Fund. Article 19C requests that $738,191 be appropriated into the Transportation Management Overlay District or TMOD stabilization fund, with those funds coming from the TMOD Special Revenue Fund. This represents the second and final payment from the developer of 440 Bedford Street into the town's TMOD funding structure. Article 19D requests that $11,789 be appropriated to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund from the Affordable Housing Stabilization Fund. This amount reflects revenue and investment income from short-term rental community impact fees collected over the last fiscal year and reserved for affordable housing purposes. Article 19E would terminate the prior town meeting action that directed future short-term rental community impact fees into the Affordable Housing Stabilization Fund and would instead direct those future receipts into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Article 19F, finally, would then dissolve the Affordable Housing Stabilization Fund after the final appropriation in Article 19D is made. Madam Moderator, the Select Board unanimously supports passage of Article 19.
Thank you. Mr. Lamb for the Capital Expenditures Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Capital Expenditures Committee unanimously recommends approval of the A part, which is the CSF. We take no position on the rest. I just want to note that in the past, I may have said to some of you that this will be our last contribution to the CSF. That's not exactly true. This will be our last net positive contribution to the CSF. We'll continue to contribute into it in future years, but we'll be withdrawing more than we contribute to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Osborne for the Appropriation Committee. Or is it Mr. Osborne?
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee voted unanimously for this amendment, so this article.
I apologize. I didn't hear what the vote was.
Sorry, unanimous.
Unanimous. Thank you very much. In support.
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions, folks? We'll move to a vote. All those in favor of the motion under Article 19, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the right feedback. Anyone need to vote by voice?
Madam Moderator, Precinct 3, Delano Bastian, yes.
Mr. Bastian in Precinct 3 votes yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 172 having voted in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstaining, the motion carries and it is unanimous, therefore more than the necessary 2/3. Ms. Hay, could I have a motion to next take up Article 31, where we left off on April 13th when we adjourned for technical reasons?
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Any objection to taking up Article 31? Ms. McKenna.
Madam Moderator, this is a very important article that I know there are a lot of citizens who want to speak about, and I think to take it up this late at night is not appropriate. I think we should move to the other items that you had proposed and not, in fact, take this up tonight.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. So I'd like a motion to next take up Article 16.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Anyone object to taking up Article 16? We just have 2 items that we need to do for that. Okay. The motion carries. The meeting is open on Article 16, appropriate for public facilities capital projects, so the items that weren't on the consent agenda. The motion is the one before you, dated March 9th, 2026, and on file with the town clerk. Mr. Pato for the motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Thank you. We have a video from Mike Cronin, the Director of Public Facilities, so please watch the screen behind me. Oh.
I was just going to say, on the tablets, we're showing Article 19 on mine anyway.
So we're in the, yeah, that will change. It'll change soon. Right now, the same staff person who manages that is trying to get this video to work with some sound, so.
I can't hear that either.
Yeah. Well, you should have led with that.
A lot of practice, Matt.
I am the Director of Public Facilities for the Town of Lexington. Tonight I'll be discussing Article 16D, which is the Public Facilities Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing Replacements, specifically for the Fisk Elementary School. So to just refresh everybody's memory, the Facilities Capital Improvement Program is really informed by our 20-year capital plan. And as part of that capital plan, we have developed 4 silos. One is for site improvements, which talks about school paving, which means the asphalt, the driveways and the parking lots, and for the concrete sidewalks. Interior finishes, which could be things like flooring, painting, bathroom refreshings, etc. Building envelope and roofing. Building envelope is really talking about the windows and the masonry systems, and then of course the roof is all of the flat roofs that we have, the different styles. And lastly, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. And those are some of the infrastructure systems that oftentimes will need some replacement over time. Believe it or not, the Fisk Elementary School will be turning 20 years old this coming year. Energy recovery units have a 20-year useful life. So we are beginning to plan for the replacement of these systems. As part of that, some of the systems have begun to fail. The scope of this project includes replacing the fossil fuel rooftop energy recovery units with all-electric units. Similar to the Harrington Elementary School project, which was funded in 2024 by Town Meeting, it'll be completed in 2 phases. At Harrington, Phase 1 was completed last summer, in the summer of 2025, and Phase 2 will be scheduled to be completed this summer in 2026. That will follow the same trajectory for Fisk. It'll be 2026 and 2027. It is expected that the electrical infrastructure will need to be upsized to accommodate the new power requirements. This upgrade is included as part of the scope of work. Here's an aerial photograph of the roof at the Fisk Elementary School. You'll see that the dark coloring is the roof material itself, and all of those light white and gray colored boxes are the rooftop units. There's about 29 separate pieces of equipment that'll be included as part of the scope of this work. Here's a close-up view of some of those pieces. On the far left-hand side, you'll see an energy recovery unit. A little further off in the distance there, you'll see some fresh air supply. In the middle picture, you'll see some of those rounder shaped items. Those are exhaust fans. So that takes the spent air that's in each one of the classrooms or in one of the areas and pulls it out of the building. And in the bottom right is some of the a reverse look at those same types of pieces of equipment. The request, Article 16D appropriation. This request is to appropriate the sum of $4,565,000 for the replacement of the HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and related components and systems that have exceeded their useful life, and all incidental costs related thereto. That to meet this appropriation, $4,083,459 be appropriated from the general fund, unreserved fund balance, $242,332 be appropriated from the tax levy, and $239,202 be appropriated from the unexpended bond proceeds authorized and issued under Article 16E of the 2022 Annual Town Meeting. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. For the Select Board, Mr. Pato.
Madam Moderator, the Select Board unanimously supports this motion.
Thank you. For the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I want to just note that this was a very difficult budget year, and there was a lot of pressure on free cash. This is one of the reasons we do support this Article 6-0. Thank you.
Thank you. For the Appropriation Committee, Ms. Yan.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee unanimously support this article.
Thank you. Ms. Sykes with a question.
Madam Moderator, Nicholas Sykes, Precinct 8. Through you to the Director of Facilities, has any thought been given to adding solar into the project at this point?
Mr. Cronin.
Madam Moderator, so we actually have solar on the site. We are not going to add solar as part of the scope of this work.
Ms. Sykes.
Will this system hook up to the solar that's on site?
Mr. Cronin.
Madam Moderator, so the system that we have there has a battery, has reserves, and so it will continue to operate as it does today. So the electricity that's produced on site will fill the battery will then fill the building, and we'll draw down off of that.
Ms. Sykes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. Alessandrini with a question.
Alessandro Alessandrini, Precinct 4, Madam Moderator, through you. I have a question. The costs of these components, do these tariffs that we're on that we have right now, do they affect the prices that we actually are? Is that, in other words, is that calculated into the costs?
Mr. Cronin.
Madam Moderator, so as we saw with Harrington, we did see some tariff increases. We've actually allocated a budget associated with that increase, that small delta. We're carrying some additional tariff just in case.
Okay,
we're going to purchase this a year and a half out. We won't know.
Thank you. Ms. Swain with a question.
Yes, Madam Moderator, through you. I have a question about the sidewalk and paving. Can you just give us some more information about what sidewalks and what paving needs to be done? I'm just wondering, I grew up in a town where that was
I'm just going to pause for a second. Is this part of this? This isn't part of this motion, Ms. Swain.
Oh, I thought there was some paving related to this. Sorry.
That's okay. It was a different item, but we're on 16D. It's okay. All right. Seeing no one else in line, we're going to move to a vote on item 16D. This is a simple majority. All those in favor of the motion offered under 16D, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. And if anyone needs to vote by voice, let me know now.
Madam Moderator, Precinct 3, Delano Bastian, vote yes.
Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3, votes yes. Okay, we'll close the voting. In this matter, 165 having voted in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 2 abstaining, the motion carries. It is unanimous. The meeting is open on 16E, LHS equipment emergency needs. And we have a video from Mr. Cronin.
Meeting members, my name is Mike Cronin. I'm the Director of Public Facilities. Tonight, I'll be presenting Article 16Es, which is the Lexington High School emergency needs. What is the need? So back in 2022, Article 16G was appropriated to provide $500,000 for the Department of Public Facilities to respond to emergency repairs at Lexington High School. It's a good thing we did that. In the following 3 years, from 2022, the building needed repairs to the following infrastructure. The steam condensate tank replaced. It actually failed, leaking steam all over the building. The IT server room, the air conditioning unit failed. In order to keep the IT infrastructure, the servers and the IT equipment cool, it needs to have an air conditioning unit 24/7. The steam line repair to the math building, we have a 6-inch main that connected both the the two back buildings, including the math building, that failed outside. We excavated that and made a fairly significant repair. And the K modulars, we built those about 10 years ago. The HVAC unit failed. So there are 16 modular classrooms. 2/3 of the system had to have been replaced. These are some pictures of some of the system failures that are out there. The top left-hand picture shows you the volume of steam and the water, the condensate water that was on the floor. And the picture on the right, top right, is the actual steam condensate tank that failed. In the bottom right shows you a puddle, which was a water line main fail that happened this past winter. And in the middle picture in the bottom, the workers that were hand excavating in order to get the pipe. And as you can see, under the ground there's a maze of piping. The bottom pipe on the bottom left-hand corner, the bottom pipe was a pipe that had failed. What is the request? Because the repairs listed above, the capital account has been reduced from the original $500,000 to what we have a current balance of $98,789. The request is to make this account whole by requesting $400,000 to bring the account back up to the original $500,000 level. The appropriation request is to appropriate the sum of $400,000 to replenish the emergency repair account and ensure the Department of Public Facilities can facilitate emergency repairs at the existing Lexington High School where the new building is under construction. This appropriation will be funded with cash. Funds will remain available until utilized. Any unspent funds will be returned when no longer needed. Example, when the new high school is complete in September of 2029. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. For the Select Board, Mr. Pato.
Madam Moderator, I move this article, and the Select Board unanimously supports this motion.
Thank you. For the Capital Expenditures Committee, Mr. Lamb.
Madam Moderator, the Capital Expenditure Committee unanimously recommends approval of $400,000 of free cash for this article.
Thank you. For the Appropriation Committee, Ms. Yan.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee unanimously recommends approval of this article.
Thank you. For the School Committee, Ms. Jay.
Madam Moderator, the School Committee is in unanimous support of the motion for Article 16E, and we will keep our fingers crossed that it's never needed.
That seems like a good plan. Okay, seeing no one in line, we're going to move to a vote on 16E. All those in favor of the motion under 16E, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. Mr. Bastian, how do you vote? Okay, we're going to close the vote.
Madam Moderator, Yolanda Bastian, yes. Precinct 3.
Is it too late, or are we good? It's still open? Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3 votes yes. Right under the wire, Mr. Bastian.
Thank you.
Okay, let's close the vote now. In this matter, 169 having voted in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, and 1 abstaining, the motion carries. Okay, folks, we have been icing the appropriate for Vision for Lexington survey. The Vision for Lexington committee has been here not one night, not 2 nights, not 3 nights, just waiting. So I'm going to ask Ms. Hay for a motion to next take up Article 8, which is the appropriate provision for Lexington survey. I will tell you right now, there's an 8-minute video. You will indicate by your vote whether you're willing to stick it out or whether you're ready to go home. No harm, no foul. So, Ms. Hay for a motion to take up Article 8.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
All in favor of taking up Article 8? Let's do it by voice vote. All opposed?
Opposed.
Both were completely lackluster. Can we just try to get through this so they don't have to keep coming back? Let's do it, folks. Okay. All right. So I'm going to say the motion carries. The meeting's now open on Article 8, appropriate for vision for Lexington survey. The motion is the one before you, dated February 3rd, 2026, and on file with the town clerk. Ms. Kumar for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Okay. Let's roll that video.
My name is Sarah Delnito Budish. I'm speaking to you today on behalf of my colleagues, Tom Lin and Minju. We are part of the Vision for Lexington Committee. And we wanted to share with you our request for $75,000 to fund the townwide survey for Lexington that we are hoping to administer in 2027. The Vision for Lexington Committee has a number of objectives and has existed in town for a couple of decades now. One piece of our mission is to think about the long-term future of Lexington. And the survey specifically is a way to engage the Lexington community, Lexington residents, in thinking about Lexington's long-term future. The survey, we are also hoping, will be a way to fulfill our mission of identifying what residents see as opportunities and challenges that may shape Lexington's future and also exist today from people's perspective. So to really capture a snapshot of what the town is looking like to residents. Now, the survey will allow us to measure, track, and report progress on the topics and questions that are included in the survey. This is a longitudinal project, and so this really goes to the part of the Vision for Lexington Committee's mission of providing a connection point between what residents think and feel and perceive at this moment, and onto kind of the fourth component here, to decision-making bodies in the town. So the survey has in the past, and we hope will, result in concrete recommendations to the select board, as appropriate, the school committee, planning board, basically decision-making bodies in town, to provide a channel between what residents are experiencing and those decisions that are made by the town. So the goal of the survey in this iteration is to identify and better understand what residents see as their main interests and their main concerns. As I said, this would provide information, really important information, to decision-making bodies in town about the impact of their decisions on residents. The project is in its fourth iteration. It was first administered in 2012 and has been administered every 5 years since then. So it's a really special opportunity to kind of gather data over a long period of time, and also provide a tool for meeting the moment and really getting that snapshot of what things are looking like. We have a few guiding principles that are important as we design and administer the project from our perspective. The first is consistency. So there are some questions that we want to make sure that we carry forward. We want to have an eye on trends, how things are changing or not changing in the town, and the longitudinal piece is a really great opportunity for that. At the same time, relevance is another core principle. The survey is a chance to meet the moment and really capture what the town is looking like to residents now. A lot has happened in the past 5 years, and so we're excited about the opportunity to provide a chance for residents to be heard. And finally, the third core principle is about connection. We hope the survey will be a chance to engage all members of the community in what they feel is important for the town to know and be thinking about, and be heard on those things. And that includes residents who already are really actively engaged in town in various ways, and through multiple channels, as well as those who are residents of the town and may not have been as available or inclined for whatever reason to engage. We hope that the survey will provide an appealing, easy, exciting opportunity for everyone to really be heard. In terms of the projected timeline, what we're hoping to do this spring and summer is first to finalize an RFP. One of the first steps of the project is to engage with a contractor, a company that can help us administer, build, gather results from the survey from a technical perspective, and we'll do that through an RFP process. So we're preparing the RFP and hoping to roll that out in terms of a process this spring and summer. And in addition, a really important piece of preparing the survey at a substantive level is doing outreach to groups and individuals in town. Our hope with this is to be able to gather some information before we finalize the questions on the survey on what's important to residents. What do people want to be asked about? We're sort of expecting that at least some or most of the previous surveys will hit on these important areas. And at the same time, we want to make sure that the questions aren't really missing something that feels really important to residents. Next fall, we're hoping to finalize the content of the survey, to test it, and to have an outreach strategy in place to distribute the survey effectively and also get the word out. Is a really, really important component of the success of the survey. Spring 2027 is when we will be looking to launch the survey, of course. This will involve a big marketing and publicity push to make sure that we get the survey to the community, to the places that are really communication hubs. Hopefully our outreach and marketing publicity strategy up to that point will inform this work so that we can really be efficient and effective about getting the survey out and getting the word out. So our budget request is $60,000. This covers a number of components, the largest of which is engaging a contractor to administer the survey and actually build it at a technical level. This is how previous iterations of the survey have worked, and that process is likely to, as we said, begin this year, but the contractor will be responsible, among other things, for actually building the survey. Our publicity and marketing campaign is, again, a very important and very central part of the work that we have between now and the launch of the survey and even afterwards. For instance, during the launch of the survey in 2022, there was a postcard campaign that actually was really effective and resulted in a meaningful bump in participation. So we want to consider those types of opportunities and be creative about ways to boost participation in the survey. There will be hopefully qualitative engagement both before the survey is launched and after. Beforehand, the idea would be to inform the content, inform the questions, and afterwards, and again, this is consistent with previous iterations of the survey, the idea would be to hold focus groups, conversations with residents that will help to contextualize the results and supplement the findings, and hopefully add some nuance to what data is captured in the survey. The 2022 budget was $50,000, so we put this in for context, and so our current request is a modest but hopefully meaningful increase to account for some rising costs, while also staying, sort of within a range that we think is achievable. On that note, I want to just end with some thoughts that we have at this point about potential changes to the survey this time around. And we're really focusing on two kind of directions for this at this point. One is really leaning into the opportunity that the survey provides to invite residents to prioritize different issues. This is the kind of thing that decision makers in town, of course, do all the time. They're trading off between different important interests. And so we're curious to see if the survey can ask residents to do some of that work themselves and share it back in the survey so that we have a sense, we sort of collectively have a sense of how people would resolve those types of tensions if they come up. We also want to have an eye towards balancing the thoroughness of the survey, which it has been very thorough in the past, with a manageable scope and length. We want to make sure it doesn't take too long for people to answer the survey and that they can do it very easily. And we think that that will boost participation. The second area that we're really excited about exploring is what would it look like to have students be involved in the survey. In the past, students haven't taken the survey, but we are hopeful that this time around that they will participate, they can participate. And as well as providing their feedback before the survey is administered in some of these pre-survey outreach efforts that we engage in. And sort of the theory there is not only sort of the more the merrier, having more people participate is always better, and also that students may very well contribute questions or topics that wouldn't come to mind, first for those of us who are no longer students. So we're hoping that we can really learn something from from these groups and make the survey even better. So thank you for considering this, and we're hopeful to run a really effective, meaningful survey in 2027.
Thank you. Ms. Kumar for the recommendation of the Select Board.
Madam Moderator, the Select Board supports the passage of Article 8 with a vote of 4 in support and 1 waiting for town meeting discussion.
And Ms. Verma for the recommendation of the Appropriation Committee.
Madam Moderator, the Appropriation Committee voted to recommend approval of Article 8 with 8 members in favor and 1 opposed.
Thank you. Mr. McGaugh with a question.
Thank you. Madam Moderator, through you to the maker of the motion. Based on their experience in 2022, could you share with us what survey findings were applied to any policy or changes that the government undertook since then?
Ms. Kumar, do you want to address that, or who would you like for me to recognize?
Yeah. Can you recognize Ms. Copey if she is here?
With pleasure. Ms. Copey. Sorry, do I have your name correct? Yes, thank you. I thought I had it wrong. Ms. Budish. Try pressing the button again. Okay, let's give her a different mic. Thank you.
Okay, that
Perfect.
sounds like it works.
Thank you, that's wonderful.
Okay, great. Through you, Madam Moderator, I believe the question was about findings that were applied to policy. I guess one thing to say by way of overview is that the purpose of the survey is not to come out with specific recommendations for the decision-making bodies, but rather to offer the data and the findings, as the question mentions, that can support decisions. That said, there were several findings in previous surveys that did lead to, or did hopefully contribute to different decisions, policy decisions in the town. So for instance, in the 2017 survey, residents mentioned that they found communications from the town lacking and confusing. This led to a closer study by the behest of the then town manager in the 2020 committee, or the Vision for Lexington committee, to study communications in town. And this in turn contributed to eventually the hiring of a communications manager or director in town. As another example, in 2022, there were findings about voter participation. Voter participation being low, that was one of the findings, and that people have various reasons for that. As a result, a subcommittee on voter participation was formed within the Vision for Lexington Committee that just recently came out with a detailed report on voter participation in town that came out with various recommendations, including some suggestions for the select board. So there are various, I can go on, but there are various ways that the findings in the survey have hopefully been a part of their intended purpose, which was to inform decisions by the elected bodies in town.
Mr. McGaugh.
Madam Moderator, through you to the maker of the motion, how will results inform, or are questions being considered already around funding priorities, considering the extensive nature of the budget conversation we've had over the last 2 months?
Ms. Kumar. He asked me to direct it to the maker of the motion.
Yes,
Ms. Kumar.
can you direct it to the maker of the motion, please?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Ms. Kumar was the maker of the motion, just to be clear. Ms. McGaugh, would you like for Ms. Budish to answer the question?
Please recognize Ms. Budish.
In this case, the maker of the motion is the select board. So since this Vision for Lexington is helping to inform possible decisions and inform conversations that we'll have in the future, as the maker of the motion, based on the experience that town meeting has now had over the last 2 months, considering it, informing this, using this survey to help gather information that may help prioritize some of these budgetary challenges that we're facing.
Ms. Kumar.
Yes, absolutely. I think as Modish covered it in her presentation, and it's been part of the Vision for Lexington discussions to recreate a questionnaire that is in context of where Lexington is now, and it would absolutely make sense to include questions related to the process we have just gone through.
Mr. McGaugh.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. No further questions.
Thank you. Ms. Crocker, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. A question, when the motion was up, it says $60,000, and yet our booklets and what was spoken said $75,000. So just questioning the appropriation amount.
Ms. Budish.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Through you, the original idea for the article was $75,000. However, we submitted an amended budget recently in light of the various things, but most importantly, including the budget conversations that have been happening amongst all sorts of matters in the town. So our feeling now is that $60,000 represents an appropriate budget, and we submitted documentation to that end.
Okay, so it's just a correction from the video. Okay, so
Thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Ms. McKenna with a question.
Don McKenna, Precinct 6, rather, sorry. Madam Moderator, through you, my biggest concern is reaching those that aren't engaged. I've watched the process happen a number of times, and that wasn't always the case. So, number one, what specific ideas do you have for doing this? And who are you asking to give input into the questions that's not in the usual suspects, as I like to say?
Ms. Budish, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator, through you. I appreciate the question, and this has been something that we've talked about a lot and continue to talk about. So the first thing to note is that in terms of the participation of the previous survey, one important metric is the participation rate, which actually has been growing over time in the 3 iterations of the survey. It's been increasing, so we like that trajectory and we hope to keep it going. But the second metric is the representativeness of the sample. And if you look at the representativeness of the sample in the 2022 survey, it was actually fairly representative of the demographics in town. So that's positive, and we do hope to keep that representativeness going as well. With regard to your question about outreach this time around, we definitely agree that part of the purpose of the survey, or the value of the survey, is reaching not only the loudest voices in terms of town discourse, but folks who might be more likely to, fill out a survey than come to a town meeting. So to that end, we have a number of outreach ideas. One does center on kind of groups in town that are organized already, whether that's through affinity or around a cause or something like that, and to connect with them. To your question, part of our work over the next 6 months, if we receive approval for the project, would be to reach out to them, perhaps with their permission, attend a few minutes of their meeting so that we're not asking people to come to a separate meeting, to share thoughts and questions about the survey and gather input. We also hope to hold standalone opportunities for people to come and contribute. And we also hope to connect with the decision-making bodies in the town, which are going to be very important in terms of making the survey useful in order to get their input. But we're hoping, so anyway, I could go on, but we're hoping to be creative about it because, as you said, I think that we want to make sure that the survey, before it is launched, represents the issues that people in the town care about, both the ones that are most widely discussed and the ones that are maybe a little bit below the kind of loudest discourse in the town, but still important.
Thank you, Ms. McKenna.
Madam Moderator, through you, what non-technology methods are you going to use? Because there's a surprising number of people who really don't engage with technology.
Ms. Budish.
Through you, Madam Moderator, thank you. I'm assuming the question relates to, by non-technology, you mean like non-online methods. I guess I wonder if I could clarify that.
You mean methods other than having to fill it out online, correct?
Other than having to fill it out online and maybe in person, so for people who don't fill out and non-English speaking, et cetera.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Budish.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Moderator, through you. Thank you for the clarification. Last time, and actually in all previous iterations of the survey, there were paper copies. So those were available to fill out in person, though that is also limited, as you mentioned. And just as a side note, we're hoping to take those two groups. Again, it may be their own organized meetings rather than having people needing to come if they want to take the survey that way. But we also, I should say, the committee also last time around did do translation into a number of languages which was provided by volunteers, so that was available in a number of languages that people could fill out. Those were then translated on the back end by volunteers as well, so we definitely plan to continue that. And that is also part of the outreach, is sort of what we know some of that, but what languages are important to have the survey accessible in. Accessibility is definitely one of our touch points for the project. Beyond that, I think that we're, again, hoping to be creative about ways to actually make it as kind of low barrier as possible for people to take the survey. Translation's a piece of that. Actually getting the survey is a piece of that. And we're sort of willing to explore a number of different methods and open to input on that.
Ms. McKenna.
Madam Moderator, so my last area of questions is about paying for this year. And, given the budget discussions that we've had, this is not really something that has to occur this year. And I guess I'd like to understand the impacts of not funding it this year.
Ms. Budish.
Through you, Madam Moderator, I think one of the impacts of, so first of all, I just want to acknowledge it's important to consider the budget for this project, and it's a project that gains its value in a longitudinal way, and so it gains value over time. So I think that from our perspective, one of the downsides of not administering the survey this year is that the last survey being in 2022, the survey in Lexington is only administered every 5 years. Some towns do it more often and in different ways, even every year. But for Lexington, this is a really important opportunity to take stock of what has happened over the past 5 years, which is significant, and also at a time when it might be a very appropriate time to actually administer the survey, because it's a critical time in town to think about decisions like budgets and funding and priorities. I think, as one of the previous questions mentioned, there are questions in the survey that do invite residents to compare priorities. And those types of, the survey offers a snapshot of those types of decisions and the ways residents are thinking about those things in a way that is actually really important to inform decision-making going forward. So, I think that our hope is to not exceed $60,000 and to be mindful of cost along the way. If we can do it for less, that's fantastic. And so that is an important consideration for us. At the same time, again, from our perspective as a committee, it's a very important time, and it's been a while since the last survey from our perspective, and so it's important now to do it this year.
Ms. McKenna.
Madam Moderator, I will just close by saying, first of all, I think we're very lucky to have somebody who's so thoughtful about all this, working on this. That being said, I will say that I am inclined to vote no if we're having to cut teachers. Maybe this isn't the year to fill out a survey, so thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zhao in the yes line.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Madam Moderator, John Zhao, Precinct 5, Co-Chair of Council on Aging, but tonight I'm speaking for myself in strong support of Article 8. The 2022 townwide survey made it clear that Lexington is aging, and that many seniors feel real challenges, from housing affordabilities to transportations to stay connected. Those findings have been invaluable to Council on Aging and to the Senior Services Department, helping us advocate for programs, identify services gap, and plan for initiatives that allow older residents to age in place. As our senior population continues to grow, updated data is essential to ensure our planning reflects real needs rather than assumptions. Without it, we risk making decisions without a clear picture and that is not acceptable for a town committed to a thoughtful, evidence-based planning. With MBTA community zoning increasing multifamily housing development, shifting school enrollment, it's more important than ever to understand the full range of concerns across Lexington. We're making decisions today that will shape the town for decades. We need to know what the residents value, what they worry about, and where they see opportunities. This survey will guide decisions for every major board and committee and town staff. It will give us reliable way to take the pulse of the community, not just the loudest voice. It will provide continuity with survey from 2012, 2017, and 2022, allowing us to understand how our needs are changing over the time. For those reasons, and because thoughtful planning depends on real data, please vote yes to support Article 8. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shapiro in the no line.
Madam Moderator, Peter Shapiro, Precinct 4. I think the objectives of this are fine, and the money is not that much in the context of everything else we're spending. But I've lived in town a long time. This is only my second year in town meeting, but I've lived in town a long time. I read the press and so on. I don't remember any time that anyone has brought up, well, what did the results of the last vision survey say, and how should that influence what we're talking about now? I don't remember that ever coming up. So I raised a question, posted a question, what insights have we gained from this process over the years? Apparently, and I got a message back from the Appropriations Committee, Glenn Parker, say they'd asked the same question, and they received some input from the Vision Committee about that. And as I suspected, what was pointed out by the Vision Committee as what we'd learned from it was partly self-evident. Like we discovered we want a vibrant town center. We want more diverse housing capabilities. And also what I found out from this, the first bullet was the 2017 survey found that residents preferred to regulate residential land use for housing options, regulate such use, rather than limiting regulation and letting the market determine use. Well, that was in 2017. In 2023, the planning board, then followed by town meeting, approved two significant measures which drastically reduced regulation of zoning. They both are by right, the MBTA zoning and the special residential development zoning. Both of those went in the opposite direction from what the survey provided. So it's my conclusion that it's either the results are either self-evident, or they're unknown, or they're ignored. And in a time when budgets are tight, I think this definitely falls in the class of a nice to have. It's a good idea, but I would vote no on it.
Thank you. Mr. Kaufman in the yes line.
Steve Kaufman, Precinct 5. I move the previous question.
Okay. All right, folks, we are going to vote on whether you are ready to close debate on Article 8. All those who are ready to end debate, press yes. All those who want to continue debate, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button and make sure you get the proper feedback. Mr. Bastian, do you need to vote by voice? Okay, I'm going to close the vote.
Yes, I'm here.
Mr. Bastian, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mr. Bastian, Precinct 3 votes yes on closing debate.
Thank you.
Mr. Bastian, while I have you there, how are you going to vote? How are you going to vote on the final vote on the motion? Are you in favor or opposed?
In favor of it.
You're voting how?
Yes, I'm in favor of it.
Okay, making a note. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to close the vote on calling the question. You 22 are hardy folks. I just want to say that. In this matter, 110 having voted in the affirmative, 22 in the negative, and 15 abstaining. The motion carries, and by more than the necessary 2/3. Ms. Kumar, do you or Ms. Budish have any final brief comments before we take a vote?
No, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Okay, folks, we are going to take a vote on the motion under Article 8. So while staff prepares that, I just want to prepare you for what we're going to do on Wednesday. We are going to, not necessarily in this order, we're going to do Article 34, Skip the Stuff, which is a citizen article. We'll take up Article 31 where we left off. That's the Chapter 90 change related to refuse removal. And we are going to hear a motion to reconsider 10F. You'll recall that's the playground fencing. And the new information that's going to be brought to you is that Mr. Cronin is bringing the principals. So, yes. So that's definitely on for Wednesday. We'll try to do some other things as well. But what this means is that you need to also be holding Monday, May 4th. You heard it here. Okay. All those in favor of the motion under Article 8, press yes. All opposed, press no. Please press the blue cast your vote button. Make sure you get the proper feedback. If we could record a vote for Mr. Bastian in Precinct 3. Mr. Bastian votes yes, thank you. Anyone else need to vote by voice? Okay, we'll close the vote. In this matter, 94 having voted in the affirmative, 47 in the negative, and 11 abstaining, the motion carries. I'll now ask Ms. Hay for a motion to adjourn until Wednesday, April 29th at 7:30 p.m. when we'll meet in this hall and remotely. Ms. Hay for that motion.
Madam Moderator, I so move.
Is there any objection? Okay, we are adjourned. Go home. You've done good work.